An age ago, the beating heart of our people was a king who knew only victory. He wanted nothing more than an honorable death on the battlefield. Yet, none could match him, and so he wandered the earth, becoming lost in time and tide. Then we too lost our honest purpose, while silk-clad men sat upon the throne. But tremble now, all cities that lay under the stars, for out of the shadows and mists of the land of promise, our courage has been rekindled, our heart has returned, and the world will burn.
Oh, I forgot RJ. How you doing? This is John, and welcome to Comic Book Team Up, where RJ and I talk comics. How's everybody doing? How you doing, RJ?
I'm doing good. We got some thunderstorms here. It was thunder and lightning all day. So just a word of warning to you, John, anybody in the chat. If you lose me, I'll do my best to get back on as quickly as possible. But
Okay, yeah. It's actually beautiful here. This is like the nicest week. Early
yeah,
September to October is like the time to be in New York. It's my wife and I are like the nice weather. Let me turn up the volume over here. Can you guys hear me? Okay. It just seems like everything's quiet. All right. So, this is the weekly show. Sometimes it's on 8 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock. Life is crazy. We just got to roll with the punches, ladies and gentlemen. We're crazy people over here over at Comic Book Team Up. You never know what to expect. So, I guess we'll start with a little bit of shilling. First we'll talk about RJ has his comic on Fund My Comic right now, Crom the Destroyer. You want to tell us a little bit about that? While I hit the correct buttons, I can't seem to find the right buttons today.
well, for anybody who doesn't know, Crom the Destroyer is old school sword and sword and sandal. So we're harkening back to basically, let's see, Conan the Barbarian crossed over with a lot of more. I don't know if we say mythological stories, but we use that as our base and we bring it forward. We're looking at you know magic evil swords good, just go around hacking at monsters and things like that. But we got themselves a good story. We got great art in the book. It is 73, 74 pages, and you can get it right now on Fund My Comic. It has been outstanding for a while. I do apologize to everybody who has ordered it from long ago, just because we had trouble with our artists trying to make sure everybody got the best art that they could. So, but yeah, we got some spectacular art. And like I said, if you're looking for old school sword and sorcery, in more of a D&D vein, as it were, whereas people die, it's not, oh, you died and then you come back 5 minutes later. No, this is you die, you're done, right? So.
And you lead into like Celtic mythology, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's Celtic
Yeah.
mythology. Well, Conan the Barbarian was originally based off of Celtic mythology. So
Right.
Instead of going off of Conan the Barbarian, I went back to the myths that were used for Conan the Barbarian and then jumped off of that point. So that's very much, if you saw the trailer at the first here, the Land of Promise is very much a Celtic mythology. That's their place. It's their Valhalla, basically.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's where nobody grows old, no one dies, and it rains beer instead of water.
There you go. There you go. Hold up your mugs and let it rain beer. It's raining by you, but it's not beer, right?
Well, yeah, it rained today. It was coming down in buckets.
So I also have the Hero Tales Christmas special. I'm going with the Zaid brothers for printing. I just paid for printing 2 days ago, and they're printing their comic. And as soon as they're done, they're going to be printing mine. So it's already, I just sit back and wait. Next thing you know, I'm going to get some comics in the mail, and the Kickstarter campaign's not even done yet. Because I gotta. I feel bad saying this since RJ had some problems with his artist, but I think I assembled the Avengers, and I know at what pace we can work, so I tend to plan ahead. You know what I mean? So I'm already done, and my campaign on Kickstarter is still got like 17 more days left. So I'm gonna actually do a second chance campaign since it's a Christmas book after Halloween. I think after Halloween, people will be in a Christmas state of mind. And I'll bring this up since RJ, this involves RJ. What am I doing? Buttons don't want to work today, RJ. So RJ is participating in the Crisis on Independent Earths, right? The Valiant Heroes will be showing up.
A couple of them, yeah.
Yep. I just read his script today. What is the Crisis on Independent Earths? Well, like this shirt, like my mug, I'm shilling. It's a promotional event. I think we could all agree, if you're watching this, maybe RJ, you got a lot of people from your political talks on Saturday, but if we're comic book people, and I think there's been unnecessary drama in the past couple of years, and it's kind of like defined the independent crowdfund comic book space, and I don't think it's been helpful. I think it's been the opposite of helpful. Quite frankly, I think it's been damningly damaging. So I wanted to do something to get all of us together. Everybody's invited. Yeah, that guy you don't like, that guy's invited too, And so far, I'm up to 40 people. Some big names: Chuck Dixon, Joe Bennett. Chuck Dixon's going to be doing 2 stories. Chuck Dixon is writing My Sister Suprema for this, and he's also doing Airboy for this. So he already sent me the scripts. So, I got Josh Howard, I got Adam Lawson, I got Aaron Sparrow, I got RJ, myself. We're all working together, 3 to 5 page little vignette stories that work together towards a big grand story that I'm working with Aaron, and we're tweaking it now. And then January 1st, we're going to have all the art done, and then assemble it, edit it, and try to get it in your hands as soon as possible. And it's a fun exercise. Try to promote unity. Like, one guy already said, "Oh man, I would love to be part. I want to buy this book, but one guy is in it that you don't like." And I said, "Just one?" He said, "Wow." I mean, you know what I mean? With 40 people, I said, "You're gonna say no to a 100-page comic book full of fun and adventure because you don't like one guy's 3 pages?" And he said, "Yeah, you made me feel stupid." But I want this to be like a line in the sand. Everything before this, forget about. And let's all work together going forward. And the rules that I came up with is, let's stop the drama. Let's submit a script that actually services the story, and let's get your work done on time. And then we're gonna have a book. We're gonna have a poster. We might even have like a Who's Who companion. This is gonna be fun, guys. So I put up a T Public store to raise money, because it's gonna cost a couple of bucks. You know what I mean? Even with everybody contributing their pages, it's going to cost a couple of bucks. So, I made $12 in t-shirt sales so far. Yay. You know what I mean? But every drop helps, says the old lady as she peed into the ocean. So I'm excited. RJ's in. We've been talking behind the scenes that you and I wanted to do something together for a long time anyway. So, maybe this will be the start of something.
Well, definitely. And here's the thing I want to add to what John said.
Sure.
We got to a point right now where we're not in the heyday of the independent sales we had like 5 years ago in any way, shape, or form. So
Correct.
the guys that are actually still holding on are the guys that you need to support and that we need to support as creators. Like, I mean, you got to pick the fella who gets his work done and, knows what he's doing. And, once we get that and we have ourselves, because we all have our own guys, but everybody's got to make their own way. And there's some people that do this just for a living, and you got to pick somebody who's going to get it done on time. And I think that this is going to be a great way to let's just say I don't know what you call it, just reach out to those people, put them all in one book together.
Right. It's a fun project. I came up with this idea. Well, this Zach then says he got the Speedster mini print from Phenomenal over 420. That was the beginning of this, believe it or not. It was why can't I remember his name? Andrew from Ripperverse. He has that character Arcstream. And he says, look, guys, let's all make a poster of all of our Speedster characters. And I didn't debut my Speedster character yet, but I was like, I got one. And then Vaughn Coleman has Galvanite, who's got like lightning powers and speed powers. So I was like, let's do it. And he's like, okay. And I was like, okay. He said, let's do it. So I just went and did it and presented it to those two guys. They're like, oh, wow, you finished it already. Because that's the way I am. I'm a crazy person like that. And it was fun. It was not a problem. Me, Vaughn, and Andrew just worked together, put it out together. It's got our logos on it. And then when I did the convention, we made it like a little fun thing. If you buy from both of us, you get this free little print over here. And everybody was like, wow, now we'll buy, and I was like, this was fun. So let's do it on a grander scale. And, I see other people in the chat. Where'd he go? Zaid Comics, he's got 3 stories going to be in here. The Diaz brothers, they got The Man with No Strings. They got The Lost Pages and Magic Cop. So 3 different universes created by one guy, and he's going to do 3 stories. I just think it's so much fun. He's also printed my comic. The Zaid Comics, watch them. We're gonna, they're gonna be a big name. 20 years from now, you're gonna say like, hey, weren't they in that silly little crisis book that John's Longbox came up with? And it'll be 9.9. You'll slab it, and it'll be worth a fortune, guys. I don't know. I'm just talking nonsense, but I'm excited to do this. Quite frankly, I got into this like 6 years ago doing YouTube, and it was all fun and exciting. And then about, I don't know, right after COVID, it got to be a slag, and everybody was fighting, and it was just depressing. So, be the change you want, as hippy dippy as that sounds. So that's what this is. We're going to cross promote each other. We're going to help each other, support each other, and stop with the drama. So not that RJ was ever involved in drama. You're like the one guy, RJ, that never fought with anybody.
Yeah,
I'm embarrassed.
I just keep to myself.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed by some of the fights that I got into. I'm human. So as usual, we have topics, and already I'm off topic. I was asking RJ, how do, like, becoming a writer. People always ask me, where do you get your ideas from? And my answer is sleep. RJ, are you a dreamer?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I wake up in the morning with the most wonderful dreams. I very rarely have scary dreams. And I wake up, and I'm not joking. They're complete scripts. And one night I dreamt 2 comic book scripts, and I had to go to work, and I was like frantic that I was going to forget these ideas. I just kept telling myself the stories that I dreamt over and over. So when I got home, I literally wrote out two comic stories with just minor tweaking. I dreamt complete scripts. So like, I'm not joking. Most of my ideas come from script, but I will say, you want to be a writer, and I'm not a good writer. I admit that. I'm a beginner writer. I'm a newbie writer. But you got to get out and live life. Go out and talk to people. Just sitting home reading comic books or regurgitating comic books, it'll make you technically competent. But like, I don't know. Like, I still think, and I want to put this in a story. One day I went to go meet a friend, and I went to the wrong bar. how many stories? So I'm in the wrong bar, and everybody's grimy and dirty and everything, and I'm drinking with this one guy, and I realize I'm in the wrong bar, and he's going. So I bought him a drink, and then I realized I was in the wrong bar, and then he wanted to buy me a drink, and I was like, no, I gotta go. And the guy goes, what? I'm not good enough for you, you know? Blah, blah, blah. And he got really offended, like this was gonna be bad. I was like, okay, you know, I'm sorry, man. And so we ended up with a drink, and then I noticed that his shoe was deformed. He had one regular size shoe and he had one half shoe. So what happened to your foot? So now he goes, oh yeah. As he's talking, he's untaking the shoe. And he showed me he had half a foot. Turns out he worked for the subway, and the subway ran over his foot, chopped his foot off. You know what I mean? All because I walked into the wrong bar, had a drink with some guy, and now I want to put that guy in a story someday. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's like me and my friend Jimmy in 1993. We just rented a car and drove around Mexico and slept in parks for a summer. You know, neither one of us knew Mexican. You know, we made sure that we rented a car from a Mexican agency, so we didn't have New York plates on it or anything like that. We just bummed around Mexico. You know, we were buying beer and going through garbage cans and selling Tecate beer back, and we had a blast. You know, it was fun. Things like that. I'm sure RJ, you know, you just went to Europe and had some interesting adventures, right?
Yeah, I almost got stuck there.
What's that?
I almost got stuck there.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be like the castles, at least, or the buildings, the architecture will be in your stories.
I think I told the story before about I was on the let's see, I was around Dublin, and I realized that because I didn't buy a return ticket, but it was back in the time when they would allow you into a country without having a return ticket, right? And I had enough money. I was saving my money so that I had enough for a return ticket because I knew exactly the airport I was going to fly out of and everything. So I found myself in Dublin, and I realized that I did not have enough to buy my ticket. I was like £5 short to buy the ticket home. So I was going to fly out of Shannon Airport because that's the cheapest one at that time. It's on the other side of Ireland, right? So it's on the west coast. So on the east coast of Ireland. So I had to figure out a way to get from the east coast of Ireland to the west coast of Ireland without spending any money whatsoever, with no food on me, and I had to somehow make £5. And I decided to just start walking. So I started walking across the country, and you know, I stopped at the hostel that I was in. I took as much from the pantry as I could because you can't take food from there if nobody claims it, right? And that was my food for the next 3 days. And as I was walking across Ireland, I stopped in the middle of nowhere. I had to use the bathroom. There was a gas station, and then I was like middle of nowhere, saw nothing around me except for this gas station. So went to the gas station, said, can I use the bathroom? He said, yeah. Gave me the little key that go in the bathroom. So I went in the back end to the bathroom, and I found £5 note on the floor.
Wow.
Which gave me just enough. Like literally when I got to the airport, I had to sleep there for the night. And I paid for my ticket, and I got change back, and I was just enough to get back to North America.
Wow. That's funny. That's funny. I remember once I was an apprentice. I was working in construction for like a week, and I didn't even get my first paycheck yet. But I was just happy to have a job. You know, I was just happy to change careers. I was in a good mood. And I'm walking down into the subway, and a homeless guy's like, hey, you know, can you give me a quarter or whatever? You know, this is back when they asked for change rather than dollars. So I reached into my pocket and I gave him some change. And then I went to go buy a token. This was back when there was tokens rather than Metro cards. And I was exactly a quarter short for a token. I was like, oh my God. And I looked at the homeless guy because I gave him 50 cents. I was like, dude, can I get a quarter back? He goes, I don't know you. And I was like, so I was like, what do? I got to get home. You know what I mean? I got to get home. I literally was a quarter short. And I know that's not a big, just jump the turnstile, but I'd never jumped the turnstile before. So I'm like, my heart's racing. I'm a good kid for the long run. And I'm just like, how do I plan this? What do I do? What do I say if I get caught? You know, blah, 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 blah. And I just like paced it to like a whole bunch of people were coming. And You know, I climbed over, and of course, I'm not the most agile guy. I banged my shin. I fell down on the ground. You know what I mean? I'm getting up. My shin hurt. You know when you hurt your shin and you're like, you know, so I'm limping into the train. And I'm nervous. I'm thinking people are gonna follow me. I mean, I had a Long Island Railroad ticket, but I just didn't have a subway. Oh man, that just you know, you made me think about that. That's just all because I was nice. You know what I mean? I you know, when I went home, I had a jar of change, but like, I just didn't have it on me. Just stupid stories. That's the kind of stuff I once had a homeless guy give me money without asking. I really need it. You never know what's out there. Yeah. Yeah. I'll never forget. I was again, the same year. I was an apprentice electrician making nothing, you know, because the monthly train ticket was a full week's pay. And then my rent was 2 weeks pay. And I had 1 week's pay to do with everything else in my life. You know what I mean? So and my week's pay was like $180 back then. So I had like no money ever. And I'll never forget, I'm in Penn Station and I'm just looking down. I have my headphones on, you know, this is, you know, when I still had a Walkman, and I'm just looking down and I just see money falling on the ground, and it's just feet. And I look around and everybody's getting on the train, getting off. So I just went and I scooped it up, and I didn't, what am I going to say? Who dropped the money? You know, and I get on the train with the, when I got to work, it was $80, which was like another week's pay as far as I was concerned. You know what I mean? That was like, wow. And I'll never forget too. I went to this bodega in Queens, and next to the bodega was a liquor store. And I had $12 for the week. So I go into the bodega and I bought a case of Top Ramen. You know, the oodles of noodles, whatever you want to call it. And the case was like $8, but it was like 50 bags. So you're not going to go hungry. You know, you got water. You could cook it on your stove in your house. So I bought, and as I'm walking out, this woman's like, "Can you give me some noodles?" And I look at her, and she had a bottle of vodka. The bottle of vodka was like $24.99. I'm like, I just spent $8 on noodles, and you just spent $25 on a bottle of vodka. I said, you got poor life decisions, lady. I said, I ain't helping you. Yeah, I said, you need to help me. Who's broke? And she's like, oh, you know, I don't even want to repeat what she said. But I was just like walking back with it. You know, I had $4 for the rest of the week. You know, we've all been that broke. And you know, I'm glad I don't live like that anymore, but it builds character. Like, you went to college, yeah, right. Of course you went to college. Like, I remember, like, I'm going to ask that girl out, but like, what am I going to do? I got like 80 cents for the week. You know what I mean? Like, I can't take her anywhere. I can't do anything. You know, you just sit there and like, all right, I got to go down to the lounge and watch TV with the other losers for entertainment or something, you know?
It's funny. I was talking to this woman, sort of friend of mine. She lives in Seoul, and apparently in Korea, ramen is, you buy expensive ramen, right?
Yeah.
And she was asking me about if I ever tried ramen before, and I was thinking, and so is spam. Spam apparently is something that you buy people for Christmas, right? And it's like, no spam for here. Ramen, I only know ramen because I went to university. That's it. Because
right.
we didn't have any money, right? And same with spam. It's like, you know, you'd see it every once in a while. You know, old guys would eat it and stuff like that. You never buy it unless you're absolutely desperate.
Buying Top Ramen is like a college thing. Like, I kept it in my dorm so I wouldn't die. It's not something that you buy. I made a group of friends when I lived in Queens. You know, I was 40 and they were in their late 20s, and they were like, oh, we're going to go to a ramen restaurant. I was like, are you nuts? You're going to go to a ramen restaurant? That's like 10 cents a bag. What the hell am I going to, let's go to a restaurant. They're like, no, let's go get, I didn't realize it's the new thing. So we went to this place, Ichiran in Brooklyn, and it's like famous. Like, it's got little booths. So like you don't see the waiter, like a little door opens and the waiter's hands just come in, you know, and then there's booths so you don't see the, I guess it's like, I don't know if it's for antisocial people, and it's like $30 for a bowl of ramen. I was like, I'm in the restaurant looking at the menu. I'm like, are you guys out of your mind? But oh my God, it was awesome. It was awesome. So, you know, just Saturday, my wife and I went to a ramen restaurant by me, you know, but you know, It's not a 10-cent bag of top ramen anymore. Now it's all the college kids got into it. Now it's cool. Yeah, ramen rations. We all live like that. Spam. I've never eaten spam. I'm really curious to try spam though.
I used to, yeah, I with the ramen, I used to drive my roommate nuts because what I would do instead of using water is I'd use vinegar and the juice from the what is it? Olives, olive juice, and
Oh,
I
really?
cook it. I cook it in that in the microwave, and it would just the smell would just permeate the entire place for like a day.
Wow. Wow. I would never heard of that. Never heard of that. My wife takes ramen and she'll boil the noodles, but she won't, and then drain it, and then she'll like put like butter and like garlic and stuff like that. So I take the packets. I like. Well, I used to be like 350 pounds. And when I took the job in construction, I was like, I don't know how to diet. So I would just literally like buy broth and just drink broth. And my hair fell out. My fingernails were turning yellow. My doctor told me that I was starving to death. I was like, I don't know how to diet. So he actually had to put me on a diet. If I knew how to diet, I wouldn't have got to 350 pounds. Spam is popular in Hawaii. Yes. Talking about the book. How you doing, Matt? Matt today sent me his script for the soaring eagle will be flying into the crisis on independent Earth. Fun story. Bobby, you're going to be participating, right? Bobby's another one. Bat Sauce will be participating. Yep, he did a script. That's right. Wow, everybody's here. Everybody's here. This could be a fun project, guys. I'm real happy about it. I just wrote to Sandy Peterson. Sandy Peterson is the guy who created Doom, the video game, and he also created the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. And he's been on my channel a few times. I mean, this is a long shot, and I explained what it was and everything, and asked him if he would want to participate. But you don't get what you don't ask for. But man, how cool would it be to have Doom Guy joining us and participating on the Crisis of Independent Earth? Yes, I approved mine. You're halfway done with the inks. Nice. Yeah, people. Yeah, work gets in the way. Work gets in the way of the fun things. I totally agree. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I remember. Do you remember? I remember one day I was just like, I don't worry about money anymore. I got a promotion at work, and then like within like 6 months of that promotion, I stopped like having. I used to have reoccurring dreams that I was like in college, and then I got my report card or whatever it is, my grades, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got an F in this class. I've never went to this class, and I'd have to run and talk to this professor. Dude, I didn't know I was even in your class. He's like, well, you didn't drop out. I never saw you, so I gave you an F. But obviously there was a mistake, But I haven't had dreams like that. Those must have been like anxiety dreams about worrying about money and stuff like that. Like I would
really funny, John, because I've actually kind of done that in my life, and I was smooth enough to talk my way out of getting an F for the class. I remember I did it for 2 different classes. One was this library research class, which it was horrid. It was horrible, and it was a group project, right? And I was that guy. I showed up at the first day of the group project, and it was just like, you people have no idea what you're doing. I would rather just do this project by myself. So I never really did anything for the project, never really showed up for any of the stuff. And I said, if they fail me, I fail me. I don't care. I'm not participating in this because it was a mandatory class. And then at the end of the year, I know people are going to hate me for this, but at the end of the year, I went to class, and I talked to the professor, called me over, and he said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm in this class. He said, yeah, your team kicked you out of the group because you never showed up. And I said, well, I'm graduating in 3 weeks, and I need this class as part of my history major. So you're going to give me the mark or not?
Oh, God.
And we discussed it for a little while, and talking back and forth. And I told him like it was about research, and the whole project was about library research. So I was like telling him, showing him like I can do library research. I know exactly what I'm doing. I could do this project by myself. Yada yada yada. He said, "Yeah, I'll give you the mark." And
I also had a dream, a recurring dream that I'm in high school. And I'm like, okay, yeah, see. And then I go to my locker, and I can't remember my locker combo, and I'm like, and I got to get to class now. I have to go to the bathroom, and I don't know the combo, all these. But I do have this dream, and I laugh every time I have the dream. Because in my dream, at some point, I go, I'm an electrician. I don't need to do this. But I have a dream that I have to go. It's like that Adam Sandler movie. I have to go back to my grade school because I didn't finish like 5th grade. So I'm in a small tie. I'm in my Catholic school uniform, and I'm in a desk that's too small for me. And I'm like, the answer's 7. Like, I know all of this. And like, nope, legally you have to finish. And then like I'll wake up, like, or right. I'm like, I could just go to work. I don't need my 4th grade grade, And it's so frustrating. But I don't have those dreams anymore. Lot of school dreams. Arkham. It's funny. You're the one I thought of. I said to Sandy, if we have artists, that'll work with you if you're interested. You're the guy I thought of.
So what John is talking about here is you need to have some experiences in order to be a good writer. And I was just thinking, John, the story I told you right there now about getting that mark from the group project that I didn't actually go to led to another story when I was in a bar 2.5, 3 years later, where this girl dumped a drink over my head. That's an entirely different story, but it's connected to that. Right, she was part of the group. She was part of the group.
That's another thing. You got to go hit on the wrong girl. You know what I mean? Go get your heart broken.
That's exactly what happened. I went to hit on her, and she was there. You have no idea who I am, do you? And I said, no, I have no clue who you are. So apparently she was part of this group, and she was dicked off for 2 years straight. But I got that mark.
I remember
my back in her, and I got a drink. I got a beer poured over my head.
I remember I went to community college before I went away to school. And I took a statistics class, and believe it or not, I actually loved the class. It was, math is fun. Math is just a puzzle that you solve. As much as I'm a history writing guy, I do enjoy math. So I just got this class, and it was 3 weeks. It was during Christmas break. So it was a 3-week class, but it was like 8 hours a day. Every Friday we took a test. 3 tests were done. So I was the only kid to get an A on the first test. I got an A on the second test, and now I have in the third test. And this beautiful blonde, like she was just a woman in a room full of girls, is the only way to describe her. She looked like a movie star. And she was like, can you help me with this class? And of course, I'm in my 20s. I'm single. You know what I mean? I'm a comic book nerd. So like, yes. So she came to my house, and me and her were sitting in the house. I was helping her out and everything like that. And then right after the test, I can't believe I'm admitting this story. Right after the test, I was like, how'd you do? I did really good. Okay, you want to do something? She goes, no, I have a boyfriend. And right. She didn't even pretend to be nice or anything. It was like, I used you. I'm done with you. Goodbye. And I was just like, I knew that was coming. Like, I knew that was coming. Totally. Like, I couldn't even get mad because I knew it was coming. You know what I mean? It was just like, I wonder if I'll burn myself if I stick my finger in this fire. Oh yeah, it burnt. Hey, hello, Ben Samar, how you doing? Dream Link, yeah. I've always been fascinated with lucid dreaming, and I've been trying to do it, but I'm not successful. But I do have very vivid, very pleasant dreams. And very rarely when I do have unpleasant dreams, I am able to say, I don't want to dream this, and like change my dream. That's the closest I get to lucid dreaming. I've had the locker combination. Yeah, it's so frustrating. Hey, Rex, how you doing? Catching Clue with my mom. Oh, yeah, Tim Curry died. I have a few private questions about the... Okay, we'll talk after this. You want me to give you my phone number? Because I get so tired of texting people. All month long, all 40 people involved have been asking me questions, and I'm happy. I'm happy to do it. But I've been talking to people on the phone because I don't know. I'm just tired of texting. I don't know about you, but typos galore lately. I can't spell the most common words anymore. It's getting frustrating. But yeah, Matt, I'll help you with a smile on my face. How many times do group projects happen in real work? Exactly. In my job, I'm a construction worker. We usually work in partners because, we have to lift things or whatever. And there is a lot of conflicts. So I've just decided whatever gets me through the day easiest is what I do. So if a lot of times, because it's a construction site, you get these alpha tough guys, and they want to be in charge. You be in charge, buddy. You be in charge. As long as the job gets done, and as long as I get through my day without problems, you want to be in charge. My ego is fine with that. Then I get guys who don't know what they're doing, and they want me to be in charge. I'll be in charge. We'll do the project as delineated by the foreman. That's fine too. And then there's guys that are just like, no, we're partners. We're going to work together. So, you know what I mean? Like, that is the closest I've had to group projects in real life. But like, school is so BS. RJ, when was the last time, like, you had to work together with all 4 people that were randomly assigned to it? Like, school is so artificial, like that group project nonsense. Like this Crisis on Independent Earths, this is the closest to a group project. But think of me as the foreman, and everybody's got a little assignment. They're all doing their little assignments within rules as laid out by the foreman. You know what I mean? But I'm not doing RJ's work. RJ's doing his work the way he wants. Some of these dreams are hard.
I remember, I think it was grade 12. Grade 12, I took a creative writing class, and we had to do a group project as part of that class. And what do we do? We did like a tabloid, right? So everybody would write their story, and I was the editor and all that kind of stuff. But this class, you could not pass the class even if you got 0 on your project. So the way it would work is, if it was a week late, you take off 5%. If it was a week late, another week late, take off 5%. So, but you had to pass in all of the work at the end of the year, even if you got a 0 on it, or you would not pass. So end of the year, we did not get this project done, and this whole group project, because no one actually wanted to do the work for it. So at the end of the year, I just did the entire thing myself. Got a 0, passed the class. I was the only one, like, of my group, because group projects just stink.
I hate group projects. How can anybody go to college, do a group project, and still be a communist is beyond me. So I'm the pro. Do I have a nightmare type character in V&V? Check out Heroic Tales 3. I have the sleeper agent. He is a character who deals with dreams. You'll see my nightmare type, not in the first story, but you will see eventually. I don't want to reveal his name. I've learned the hard way not to give away cool character names. I love that Matt and everybody get along. This is a great group project for random people. Sounds like writing material. Yeah. What is John, is your book full? It's never full. The Crisis on Independent Earths. If you're interested, email me at johnslongbox@yahoo.com, or put a comment, not in this chat, but in the comments, or reach out to me on Twitter. It's open to anybody. The few caveats are, don't fight, have your work done on time, and work within the confines of the story. Don't try to break the story. I had one guy who just, he's Mr. Edgy, I guess. He wanted to break the story. That doesn't work. But if you participate, everybody's going to be in the digital edition. So we're going to compile it. But if your work isn't up to snuff, or we're 300 pages and we can't logistically fit everybody in a book, there will be a vetting process. You know what I mean? But anybody who participates will be part of the digital edition. If we have a 100-page book, and it's going to, because the bigger the thickness of the book, it's more expensive to print, and then we do a crowdfund and we don't raise that much money or whatever. There's going to be a vetting process. So, that's the best I could say without, is that fair? I'm trying to be fair. My biggest fear is that people start getting mad at me over a decision that has to be made. I always joked about the Crisis of Infinite Earths being a crossover with Secret Wars. Yeah, one thing about this story is I designed it to be as unobtrusive into your worlds as possible. Like, one of the rules that I made up is, in your 3 to 5 pages, you don't reference anything. Your characters don't know the grand story. They just know something is up, because I don't want to contaminate your world, because I'm a freak about continuity. You know what I mean? So, like, I want to be as respectful as possible to everybody else's stuff. So, and then you'll see when the story's over, your characters can choose to reference it if they so choose. I think Fabrizio Aiello with Horace H. Hoover is going to use it as a plot point for a future story, whereas other people are probably never going to reference it again. You know what I mean? That's the way it's made. And I also made it because I know we're going to get 40 teams. And then all of a sudden I write the ending and I draw everybody there on the Crisis Monitor satellite, like in the Crisis on Infinite Earth. And then you back out because you fought with X or Y fought with B, or you just didn't do it on time. Then we got to redo the art, redo dialogue. So I made it so that you could opt in and opt out without changing the grand scheme of things. And I'm being vague on purpose because I don't want to spoil the ending. My latest group project was in college where I had to go debate a team on whether politicians or media is responsible for today's messes. I was on the side that it's politicians. Well, politicians pay off the media, so they're both complacent. That's what USAID does. They take the money from us. The politicians pass the laws. They take the taxes. They put it into USAID. Then USAID bribes all the media. Notice that there was no riots this summer. I wonder why. What a coincidence. Right? If Damon Lindelof wants to participate in Crisis, please make sure to specifically tell him no alien dong. Thank you. Yes, there will be no dongs in this, RJ. I'm sorry to tell you, you got to change the script. Everything is family friendly as possible. Now, if your IP is adult, that's fine. That's fine. Think of it as you have an R-rated movie, but these are the commercials that are going to be on commercial TV. You don't show the alien dong on the TV commercial. You show that stuff. So I don't care if you have Captain Sex Guy. Captain Sex Guy in the Crisis is doing normal superhero stuff, because I do have a bunch of people that are doing children's comics, because I do think children's comics are important. And in the indie scene, there's not a lot of children's comics, and we're killing ourselves by not pushing comic books onto kids. Like, we lost 2 whole generations to manga because American comics dropped the ball, only catering to the older audience. So I think it's important that we have children comics represented here. So I want those people who are making children's comics to be able to take this book and sell it at their conventions. So you understand? So if David Lindelof wants to participate, absolutely. Bobby, you will enforce this. No alien dongs. You know what I mean? No cursing. Make it as family friendly as possible. Sexy is okay. Lewd. Those are the terms I use. Sexy is okay. Lewd is different.
So I think part of the reason why this project is so important is because I don't know how many of you are from my channel. I don't know how many of you have been watching my channel for a while. But the stuff I do on my channel right now is not what I started my channel as. What I started my channel as was reviewing independent comics and stuff like that. And that's the oldest stuff I did. And I would go to Kickstarter and I would go to Indiegogo and things like that and find good projects, and I would do videos about them. Usually I would do like 10 to 15 per video. And I would inevitably, unfortunately, get someone to come back to me saying, please take my book off your list. I don't want to have anything to do with you or with the people you're associated with. And I'm sorry, but there was some people that I can remember one, and his book was spectacular. It was husband and wife team, and their book was really, really good, and the art was amazing. And I just told them, look, I'm not taking down a video because it has your stuff in it. I'll take out the link so no one can find it, but sorry, but that's all I'm going to do. But that's the opposite of what we're doing here. Okay. Because that's what independent comics were for the last, 5 to, 7 years. You have people saying, I don't want to have anything to do with you because I have my own independent comic and I don't want to touch other people that have anything to do with X, Y, or Z. This project we're working on here with John is the fact that, no, my stuff touches yours. I don't care. I'm writing a kid's book. You're writing something that's definitely not a kid's book. All we're doing is we're writing independent comics, and we share resources at the very least. For what we're doing here is more of an advertising, as in, here's 5 pages of mine, here's 5 pages of yours. Right. You might like this book. I think that John has come up with the exact opposite of what has been going on for the last 5 years. A couple of people approached me. First off, like, you didn't invite me. I didn't invite anybody. The only people I invited were like guys who, like Sandy Peterson, because he never would have heard about it. You know what I mean? Whether he takes the invite is another story. But if you know me, you're invited. Even if you don't know me, you're invited. Everybody. So if you didn't personally get the invitation, I apologize, but you know what I mean? Everybody's invited. So stop that. You need royal treatment. That's kind of a
red flag, if you ask me. The second red flag is 3 people. The very first question was, how do I get paid? To my answer is, it's cute that you think you're going to get paid because nobody's making any money in independent comic books. You know what I mean? We're doing this because we love to do it. So I said to him, this is a flyer. This is a promotional flyer. This is punk bands putting up posters all over on every telephone pole. This is a catalog. This is a Sears catalog. But instead of it just being static poses, we're going to have a story. So that, oh, I'm out. I'm like, okay, great. You know what I mean? What do you want me to say? Like, and first off, everybody, I'm putting in the most. I'm taking the most risk for this. You know, I'm doing the beginning. I'm doing the middle. I'm probably doing 2 segments. You know, inside. I'm going to be doing the pre-press. I'm probably going to be, well, not probably. I am going to be hiring the editor. You know, and then all of that stuff. So, you know. My biggest fear is that I put this on a crowdfund and it makes $100,000, and then every participant starts getting mad at me that they're not getting paid. If that's the case, don't worry. We'll figure something out. I figure out a page by page. We'll break it to a percentage per page or something like that. So don't worry about that. But that was another red flag. How do I get paid? Dude, you don't even have a comic book yet. You know, worry about getting paid later. And then the next thing is, like, I just don't want us to fight. You know, I don't want it to devolve into stress and everything like that. So, and yes, I guarantee it, if you are part of this project, there is somebody in this book that you don't like. There's probably somebody in this book that you fought with. Guess what? Get over it. This is a fun project. This is comic books. Roy Thomas and Jack Kirby didn't particularly like each other. I know that's shocking to hear. Roy Thomas couldn't stand Jack Kirby. He called him kid. You know, and there was a lot of guys in Marvel and DC that hated each other, but they put aside and they did amazing work. That's what this is going to be. And I'm hoping that we could show people, look, the little guys could do something good and the little guys could do something fun. The little guys could stop fighting. I mean, there's a group chat. RJ, are you part of the group chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a group chat. I know Matt's in it. I know Bobby's in it. What an amazing pool of talent. Like, they've helped me with the logos, with isolating the logos, and now that they're helping Ron Mosicki with the problem that he had in his business, because all of these guys are so talented. You know, I know it sounds like commie stuff, but like, we got like 40 super talented people now working in one group chat, and it's glorious. There's no fighting. There's no talking about other people's. No, guess what this guy said? Guess what that guy said? No, it's all like, hey guys, I'm streaming tomorrow night. Let's promote this link. Hey guys, I'm launching next Thursday. Can we? And we're sharing links. We're doing everything that we're supposed to be. You know, I'm just real happy with it. I know I'm sounding all like hippy dippy and everything like that, but so far this has been a pleasure. And I'm looking at pages. Some guys already are posted like their layouts and their inks and stuff for pages. I read mostly everybody's scripts, and just today I found out that the Atlantean, if you see that oversized magazine, King Cull. So King Cull is going to be in this, RJ. You know,
very good, very good.
Yeah, I read that. So King Cull will be in this. Ah, man, I'm so happy, so happy. And I'm neglecting the chat. Knowing DC Comics, Marvel, they're both still somehow messed. Yeah. Sounds like there's going to be a fighting process. I don't want to spoil what happens. I don't want to spoil. Gotta say, I gave up on Starlin, started reading the New Gods. Kirby absolutely mogs him. Indeed, I didn't read the New Gods yet. I didn't read Kirby's New Gods because they're in like 40 different comics, and I'm such an anal retentive. I got to read them in order. So I've been buying them, but I've been buying them as I see them cheaply in used comic bins. As soon as I have like a bunch of them in order, I'll read them.
That's funny. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've always found really weird, John. I would buy things like Forever People out of the dollar box, or 25-cent box way back in the day, right? You know, it's just, those are some of the best comics.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah,
and it's great because I just got the first appearance of Darkseid. You know, I think it's I forget, Jimmy Olsen. I forget what number it is. And it's great because it's got Don Rickles on the cover. You know, Don Rickles on the cover of the first appearance of Darkseid. In some world, Darkseid looks like Don Rickles. Oh man, now I got to put a Darkseid ripoff who looks like Don Rickles, who insults people. Matt Bear says, I say his name wrong every time. He's going to beat me up. Matt Barr says, questions. There's no revising the final book when released by different creators. The only thing they could do is a new cover. No, if Matt, when my vision, and maybe I'm naive, is I'm going to do a crowdfund, and then you guys are going to get the files. If you want to make a smaller version, you want to do a different version, you own the book. Everybody who contributes owns the book. You want to do whatever you want. You want to make a blank sketch cover. You want to take off, if it's 100 pages, but you only want to do 25 pages, whatever you want. You own the book. And one thing I think would be fun, RJ, I don't know if he told you about this. I'd like to get a plate made up, and you stick it in the first page, like if we could get a hardcover, and it's just going to have everybody's name who participated with a little box.
We talked about that last
yeah,
week.
so it'll say like RJ Shaw, and then whenever you go to a convention, you bring the book or you bring the plate and you get it signed. You know what I mean? I don't know. You get a lollipop if you get the most. I don't know what to get you. Some people won't be going to conventions, but I think that would be fun. Yeah. So Matt, whatever you want to do, you're part of the owner. Everybody owns their individual IPs. Obviously, I don't want to start that rumor. Everybody owns their individual. But as far as the book, everybody, it's the media. Oh, the media is the bad guy. My argument in the debate was the media was, okay, we're talking about that. I'm excited about this comic. I don't want to talk about politics just yet. This alien, yeah. Talking about alien dogs, not what I want to talk about. All comics were children comics when I was a kid. Absolutely. I don't want to be the book that I think is PG, and then some. No, absolute. Oh, in their printed version, that's a good point. Like, if that's a good point. We got to address that. Yeah, okay, that's a good point, Matt. Excellent point. I didn't think of that. Yeah, if everybody owns the book, but then they're going to change it and turn it to a porno book and then pass it off, that's something that needs to be addressed. Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't even think of that. See, that's that. I'm just thinking everybody's working together in good faith, and I think so far everybody is. And the 2 or 3 guys that I think were bad faith actors dropped out, and they're not going to have access to it. But like Brian Crystal is going to do Six Gun Gorilla. I don't think he's going to do anything X-rated with the Six Gun Gorilla. And as of right now, the only guy who wanted to do anything X-rated is not participating in the group because I wouldn't let him. Like, you couldn't change it. The name of the character was X-rated. I was like, we can't have that character in the book. I used to make pictures. Okay, Bing. No Heroic Tales insert. Yes, this could be Heroic Tales insert. The public eye is going to represent the Heroic Tales universe, not the patriarch. I'm pushing the public eye. I think he fits better. Thing is, there's no artist where I could do my style anymore. The tick needs fixing. Okay. Laughing in the movie theater. Just goes to show you how pathetic this indie comic scene is. You give someone a good review and they whine about it because my clique doesn't like your clique. I got to say, somebody gave my book a bad review. And I actually defended them because they were wrong, but they were a newbie. And they did not, when I said my comic book was an homage to Bronze Age comics, again, there's nothing wrong with being a newbie. And this newbie said, oh, well, it's suggestive. I can't give this to my children. I said, Bronze Age comics doesn't mean children's comics. Bronze Age comics means all ages comics. Like Dark Phoenix, that was a very risque series. Even today, when you read Dark Phoenix, it's shocking the stuff that they got away with in that comic book. So if you don't see it in Claremont's X-Men, you won't see it in my comics. But that opens up a vaster. So I said, the fact that you thought Bronze Age meant children's books, that's not my fault. But I understand why you're upset, because you thought it was a children's book, but it's not. You know what I mean? What am I supposed to do? They gave my book a bad review based on their assumptions. I got to live with it, but whatever. Then there's somebody who doesn't particularly like me. He gave my book a pretty good review, and the things that he didn't like about it, I thought were excellent points. So, if you're gonna make a comic book, you're gonna make a movie, you're gonna make anything, you're gonna make a pizza, somebody's not gonna like it. And somebody's not gonna like it for completely absurd reasons, and somebody's not gonna like it for valid reasons. That's just the way it is. Don't make art if you can't handle, don't go out with a girl if you can't handle rejection. You know what I mean? we're going to be like the Bronx Zoo Yankees. I'm not a sports guy, so I'm going to assume that's a good thing. If Jeff Lee's in this book, then I'm out. Sorry to lose you. Jim Lee, Art Adams, they're all in the book. It's good old-fashioned all-American know-how. Thank you. He's going to start stealing people's wives. I don't know what you do. Oh, Tony's here. Fourth World Saga is excellent. I got to read it. I read John Burns. I read Walt Simonson's. I read the other guy who's Paris Collins, but I never read Kirby's Fourth World. Okay. Wrong issue. John Darkseid first. Yeah. Oh, Don Rickles was 136. Okay. So I was off by 2 issues. Still,
Tony with his encyclopedic
right,
knowledge
but still,
of comics.
But now I can't get the idea of a Darkseid ripoff who looks like Don Rickles out of my head. Not to sound like a commie hippie either, John, but thank you for doing this. It was kind of between project and timing. Couldn't have been better. Oh, I got to say, Bobby, you have been the most positive supporter for this. We met in person. We went to the convention together, and he's just been like so excited. I honestly thought like I was going to get like 3 or 4 people to be like, that's kind of interesting, and then it fades away. The response to this has been absolutely amazing. I'm floored. You know, I can't believe how. And it is funny because a couple of my good friends in the independent world, I didn't expect them to be interested, and they was like, "Oh, I'm definitely in." I was like, "Really, you too?" You know, I was like, "Cool." You know, I thought one of them would definitely be in. The other guy would be like, I think that's cool, but it just doesn't fit. He's like, no, I'm in. I'm in.
Because we all know, John, that in like 20 years, we're going to be saying, yeah, I know John Bull back when he was selling, homemade comic books on the street corner.
Well, a couple of people said, could I debut a character? And I was like, please do, because can you imagine that the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles first appearance is in this book? Could you imagine that? You know, that would be awesome.
Well, that's funny because my character, which is Major Mystery, which is one of the characters in this book, this will be technically the first time he has been on the page, because Renzo and I are working on Valiant Heroes #2, where he plays a part in it. And Don Chin wrote a story with him in it, which is the backup story for that. But we haven't published that yet because I don't want to publish it. We're not publishing until we get Crom done and a few other projects out of the way. So this is technically going to be his actual debut in this book.
It's funny because I'm working on a secret project, and we're talking about the secret project being involved in the Crisis. So the Crisis might be the debut of a secret character that I'm beyond happy to, if it would be in this. But it all depends on timing. Yeah, Chuck Dixon submitted as part of the, not 2 days. This is the truth. Chuck Dixon, I asked him, I emailed him. I think it was August 1st. It was my first day of vacation. And I was like, hey, Chuck, would you be interested in blah, blah, blah? And I typed it all out. And then I went upstairs to clean my coffee pot. I drank an entire, I got a little Farberware coffee pot that fills up 3 cups. I drank my 3 cups. I went upstairs to clean it out, fill it up again, came downstairs, plugged it back in. And he already had 3 pages of script for my sister Suprema. That's how he said yes. So in the time it took me to go upstairs, clean my coffee pot, come down, Chuck wrote a script already. And then 3 days later, he says, hey, is it okay if me and Joe Bennett do Airboy, Skywolf, and Valkyrie? I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Airboy's going to return in this book. I was like, please. And then like within a day, he had that script done. I missed the joke, but it was dirty and cheeky. I didn't even know there was a joke. According to Mark Evany, Darkseid was physically based on Jack Palance. Oh, that is. And psychologically on Nixon. Wow. I always pictured Robert Duvall, but Jack Palance, he's a scary guy. Isn't Thanos a knockoff of Darkseid? Yes. Yeah. Darkseid was first, Thanos was second. And it's a loving tribute. Jim Starlin didn't do it in mean spirit. He loved and revered Kirby. Darth Vader was based on Darkseid. Yes, Darth Vader. Yeah, George Lucas fully admitted all of his homages. Star Wars was the Lensman. It was Buck Rogers. It was Flash Gordon. It was Marvel Comics. It was DC Comics. He's never been one to be shy about his inspirations.
Anybody in the chat, if you read Darkseid, let me ask this question: who in the chat reads Darkseid and hears the voice, the gravelly voice of Darkseid from Super Friends.
Yeah.
That's what I hear all the time. Every time I read Darkseid, that's what I hear.
If do you remember the thing from the 60s, you know, when they took the Jack Kirby stills and animated them?
Yeah.
That's still the voice of Ben Grimm, which is one of my biggest problems with the new Fantastic Four movie. I'm like, what's with that voice? That wasn't Ben Grimm's voice. I don't believe anything. Oh, somebody just sent me a message. I'll read it later. Somebody wants to participate. I don't know if it's somebody from this chat right now, but I'll read it after this. Yep. Honest feedback is critical. We don't want to hear it. It hurts our feelings, but telling people, yeah, that's good, does not help. I got some really hurtful criticism, and it made my first comic better. As bad as my first issue was, it was going to be worse. You know, so, and I like to think that every issue is going to get better and better. Like right now, RJ is one of the people that read the Metaphysician story. It's being drawn right now. That's when I think I started to become a good writer. You know, you read that story, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I can't wait. You know, that's when I became a good writer. You know,
And I said it before and I'll say it again. If you ever work with a professional editor, get ready to have your feelings hurt.
Yep.
They absolutely will just crush you.
Yep. Like Aaron Sparrow is a professional editor. He's a writer. He's been in the business for 20 years. He graciously said, "Hey, John, do you want help? Do you want me to help you and edit everything?" And I was like, "Oh man, I thought it was going to be me and 6 other guys, but now with 40 guys, yeah, I could definitely use that." But so he's been reading everybody's scripts and giving people, you know, criticism stuff, and he's really good with it. Like he'll give you criticism, but he's not mean. You know, I've hired an editor who's just mean, but they don't mean to be mean. But like he's very like pleasantly critique, if that makes sense. Mark Boot of having an atomic punches. Yeah, Jack Kirby. Oh, Georgina Floyd, the beautiful, breathtaking. That is the adjective for Georgina Floyd. Breathtaking beauty. I just take a knee in her presence. If I make it all be the beautiful character for me too. Oh, cool. Yeah. If you want to just submit your script, it's open to anybody. It's open to any, and I want all my friends to be playing in the same box. I want all my friends. You know, like, you know, when you were a kid and you said, "I want to be an adult," and all my friends, we all buy a house on the same block. Well, that ain't gonna happen. But this is the closest we're gonna get. I know. Everybody makes fun of me. My $180,000 mistake. I actually had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 in my hands, and I'm like, the guy at the comic book store was like, "John, you should buy this." I was like, No, they're making fun of Frank Miller. They're making fun of the X-Men. I was like, and I knew I made a mistake within like a year, so I just refused to read any. You know what I mean? If you're gonna make a mistake, double down on it, right? Be a man. Don't admit you're wrong. Be a man. We've all seen that guy on the internet.
Nobody likes a quitter.
Yeah. Oh, that was email. Okay, yeah, I just got it. It just, if you heard the Bella the other day, he revealed he never proofreads. Who never proofreads? Oh, Chuck Dixon. Yeah. He revises and then he sends it to his editor. Well, that's what the editors are for, right? I do. I always imagine him sounding like he did Superpowers. Yep. The voice I most associate with Darkseid is Michael Ironside. He did a great job in Superman, the animated series. Yes, he did. Klaus Janssen basically called me mentally disabled in his criticism of my first pages. He was brutal. Yep. The voice Darkseid Super Fred cartoons with Frank Welker. He also voiced Fred Jones from Scooby-Doo, Dr. Claw. You know what's funny is voice actors were never a thing to me. And then when I was talking about I made friends with this younger group, they were all into voice actors. And they would go to conventions and meet voice actors. I was like I was vaguely aware that there were actors that did voices for cartoons, but it was like, who cares? But now, like, this convention that I just went to, the big draw was the guy who voiced Squidward was there. You know, and everybody was dressed up as Squidward. I was like, wow, voice actors, who knew?
I'm a crazy person. I never want to meet any of the voice actors because then it would screw up in my head when I hear the voice in the actual cartoon or things like that.
I don't want to meet actors. Because if I don't like I kind of don't want to meet comic book people either. You know, like Kurt Busiek, you know, I talked to him on Twitter and the guy blocked me. Now I'm like, oh man, my comic book is like an homage to Astro City, and now that guy is a crazy liberal progressive. You know what I mean? I'm a serving dish. Don't bring me TV dinners. What is that from? Georgina Floyd. Every time I flirt with you, I think Lord Raptor Jesus is gonna get mad at me. So don't tell him, okay? He doesn't watch the show anyway. He couldn't help Dr. Ling. Okay, this is funny. Bat Sauce was pitching in the group chat the worst pitches in the world. He was trolling, but I thought he was being honest. And I'm like, I don't want to cause drama. I don't want to fight. So I'm just like, well, Bad Sauce, maybe that's not going to work. Okay, I got a better one. And then the next one was more ridiculous. And I'm like, how is this guy a novelist? Like, I outside of the chat, I was like, Bad Sauce, I don't know if this. And he's like, dude, I'm trolling you. I was like, hook, line, and sinker. He totally fooled me. Like, and I'm trying to be nice and helpful with this ridiculous pitch. And every one of them ended with, and Dr. Ling was disappointed. And Dr. Ling's father was disappointed in him. So that's become like a private joke. Or Dr. Ling is disappointed in you. But he totally got me. Totally got me. Yep. Orson Welles' voice should be the voice of everything. When they say who's going to narrate your life, everybody says Morgan Freeman. It's Orson Welles. Orson Welles, 100%. The editor's so mean. They never used the compliment sandwich. It was all criticism. Just today, Chuck Dixon said that Larry Hama had a wall of comic book artists and writers on the wall called his cancer list. And Chuck was like, oh, those people you wish cancer on? No. Larry Hama said, no, if I get diagnosed with incurable cancer, these are the people I'm going to kill. So you can take criticism. If Larry Hama is wishing you death, if Larry Hama's last dying words are "I'm going to strangle you to death," you can accept criticism on your art or writing. I had Klaus Johnson as instructor at SV. Was he harsh? Was he harsh? Frank Welker is the man along with Peter Cullen, absolute legends. Klaus is the man. He spent like half an hour giving me advice and then totally didn't care about the line. That's great. Him and Joe Orlando were some savage. I bet you hear all these stories about these old timers, like the guys being mean to Frank Miller at the beginning. Like, were they being mean to him, or did they, baptize him with fire and he became the legend that he is?
Oh yeah, Art Adams. I know Art Adams. Neil Adams just ripped his stuff to pieces.
Yeah. I love this. They're talking about their instructors. Mitch Ratz blocked me. It's okay because he's overrated. What's that from? It's for me. Original lines. Yeah, Tim Curry died today. I don't want to say anything mean. I love Tim Curry, but man, do I hate the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I hate that movie. I hate everything about that movie. I hate the soundtrack. I hate the music. I hate everything about that movie. But yet, I still like Tim Curry. I like him in just about everything else. But I've always hated, even as a kid, I was just like, I don't want to say what I really think about that movie. It'll hurt RJ's sensitive ears. Matt, Matt, you want me to add you to the group? I thought I added you to the group. We're just talking and helping each other. Just comment here if you want me to add you to the group chat. To the group chat, I don't just add people. I asked them if they want to participate because I know people are weird with group chats. Like a couple of people, they just left because it's too active, and like Dave Brink, he got the information he wanted and he was out. Like I think he lasted 6 hours in the group chat. And I'll tell you this much, ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna buy this book, and the only thing you're gonna remember is Dave Brink's pages. It is everything a superhero comic book should be in 5 awesome pages. I can't wait. I want to see his pages more than I want to see my pages. Dr. Ling has serious potential as a yellow peril pulp. Yeah, there you go. I am disappointed in you all, public eye. Yep. Well, Larry Hama was a harsh professional. They were cutting chaff. Does a great dark side voice. Pitches, not bitches. Our first exposure to Tim Curry was the Long John Silver Muppet Treasure Island. Yeah. Yep. Am I a virgin? Shame to say. Ask your mom. How's that? It's kind of wild how his Batman run was, Steven. I'm not built for people. It's fine. My script is yeah. That script is fun. That script is fun. I love the Soaring Eagle. The Lord of Darkness from Legend was Tim Curry's. Yeah, it's funny because for years I didn't realize that, and I never saw his It from Stephen King because I just can't stand Stephen King. I know he's a good writer, but I just can't. I read the first Fu Manchu book. First Fu Manchu book was good. Wow, we're all caught up with the comments. The Darkness was amazing. I know I talked a lot, RJ. You want to say anything? Well, I'm going to go fill up my coffee cup. So you got 35 seconds of unfettered talking.
So John's idea for our topic today was to, if you didn't get it at any point in this video yet, was to talk about how to be a writer, you actually need to have some life experience. Yeah, I think that what he said to me before we began was, you need to get out of your mother's basement and try to live a little. And totally agree, especially after having done so many reviews, again, early on my channel. This is what we did. We did a lot of comic reviews and talked about pulp. No, not pulp. Pop culture and where it was going and all that kind of stuff as a preamble to what I do now, I guess, to say the least. But one of the things that I would inevitably get to if I was going to review Marvel and DC, but especially Marvel, was the fact that you could see just through the lines of both the art and the writing that these people are people who don't get outside their own bubble. And there's being sheltered, and there's not having a life, and then there's what you have today with the fact that these people don't get out of they're in a silo with everyone who is exactly the same as them. They must be conformists, and they don't know people outside of that. That's why everybody has the same voice, everybody looks the same, everybody has the same hunched over expression on their face and on their back, and that's what I think John was trying to get out when we're talking about the fact that you need some life experience. You need to know that there are different people out there to write from different perspectives. Right. And that's what a good writer actually does.
And again, I'm not calling anybody out, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but I read a lot. Like, I think, and again, I don't think I'm a particularly good writer either, but I want to be, and so I know my limitations, so I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but you need to get out of a house. Like a lot of these independent comic book artists were pooping on writers, and then I read their work, and I'm just like, comic books is a weird hobby. It's one of the weirdest hobbies because it's a solo activity. Like, has anybody had like a comic book party where everybody just comes over and sits around and reads comics? No. Comic books you read by yourself. You read them on the train, or you read them in the bathroom. You're always by yourself. You read your comics, and then you talk about them with people. And then lately, when I say lately, I mean the past 20 years, like, you talk about them online. So you're still by yourself when you're talking about them. You post them to a forum or on Twitter. And then what happens is people agree with you, and you kind of gravitate towards the people that agree with you. The people that disagree with you, you fight with them, and you leave that forum or whatever. And you form a bubble. You form a shell around yourself. And then you become a professional. You're drawing by yourself. You go online and you go with these people that tend to agree with you, and then now you're writing. You don't leave your house. Like, it makes bad storytelling, bad experiences or whatever. Like, you go out, get drunk, wake up, and like, where am I? How did I get here? You know what I mean? Like, go make friends with that weirdo. Go out and do stuff. Like I said, me and my friend, we just slept on park benches in Mexico for a summer. That was fun. I wouldn't do it anymore. I was young and stupid, but like, go work at a bar on the border towns in Juarez and see some crazy characters. And I don't even want to tell you what happened there, but you know what I mean? Like, go do stuff. I hitchhiked across the country. You can't just read comic books, live with your mom, and then, I'm not talking about anybody specifically. I'm just making examples. I used to go to my friend's house and read his Iron Man comics. There you go. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? Comic books is a solo activity. Like board games, you need people. And I'm going to sound like an old man here, but like video games is just another now. It's just, you just sitting in your house playing your video games. Yeah, I know you got your headsets and you're talking to somebody. But like, it's kind of like the illusion of friendship. It was Steve. How it's. I mean, it is a book, but yeah, it's kind of gross. You know what I mean? I, but I didn't even know about that until just recently. I don't like these self-righteous guys that, you don't agree with me, so therefore you're a bad person. Like, although lately after Charlie Kirk got killed, I kind of think people who don't agree with me are bad people. Yep. What kind of life experience do you think informs Stephen King's nightmares? I don't know. Like, I do think Lovecraft, I do think that Lovecraft had some abuse in his life. If you read about the night gaunts and what are the odds that his grandfather, his mother, and his aunt all ended up insane asylums with syphilis? You know what I mean? That he married one woman and they got divorced and she never talked about it. I think there was some serious issues in Lovecraft's life. But, I guess being a psychologist 100 years later is easy. Oh, good for you. You're getting a new job. One of my friends just told me that they got a new job. Things have turned around. Two of my friends just got new jobs. It helps to have something to say. Yeah. Yep. Stephen King's got a lot of issues. Used to go to your friend. So, Matt, you got to come over and. I was joking that I want to, and this offer's still on the table. So the Crisis on Independent Earth is probably my comic that has the best chance of this happening. But the $100,000 stretch goal is, and my wife, she shakes her head every time I say this, is that everybody who participated is invited to my house. We're going to make up role-playing characters about their guys. And my goal is to have a TPK. Does everybody, RJ, you know what that means?
Total party kill.
Yeah, that is my goal. I'm going to try to have a TPK of all 40 of your characters. Soaring Eagle, Thomas Valiant. We're going to make up all of our characters. And then I'm going to try to make like a dark side character to kill everybody. Of course, whatever. But Matt says, oh, yeah, I'm coming. But I'm going to go to your comic book room. I'm not playing a role-play game. I'm going to read all your comic books. We'll have chili. We'll just jam in as many chairs as possible.
I don't know what John's wife looks like. She's like Norm's wife on Cheers. She just floats around in the background, but I can still picture her coming to the door and just opening it up and her head dropping, just go downstairs.
The funny thing is, she goes, do you know what RJ looks like? And I said, no. She goes, you never saw him? I said, I don't want to see him. It'll only be disappointing. That's my steady. So she's like, you talk about doing a convention together. What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to close my eyes until he puts a mask on. He's going to have just a shield with two eyes in it. So I'll see your eye color. That's it. She goes, what if he shows up? Like I said, I have a picture of what he looks like. So I have a mental image of what I think you look like, but I really don't know what you look like. So I'm curious one day if I ever do see you, if you look like this mental image in my head. But
depends on how long it takes, John.
Right. But you know what I mean? Like, I live close to the airport, so MacArthur Airport. I'd go pick you up in 5 minutes if you ever want to come out here do a convention. But and then you show up and they're like, oh, I didn't realize RJ was 4'11" and black. Wow. I actually asked Chuck Dixon about people who are good editors but not particularly good writers. Oh, so you asked that question today that talked about Larry Hama. I had one in mind, a certain guy that he worked with, by respect. Chuck, writers have so much context that the audience does not. It's hard to read one's work from an outside. Yeah, we all bring in our own garbage in. Have I read The Caper yet? To my unlimited sorrow, I have not, because Aaron put me on a deadline for some stuff. It's funny. It's my project, and now he's put me on deadlines. So I'm trying to get that done. Because I told people it's got to be done by January 1st. I can't be late. You know what I mean? I got to set the example. I'm getting to the point in life where I've got such a big it is, they can't be conveyed into conversation. Writing might become a nest. There you go. Writing is fun.
Steven, that's the exact same reason why I have a YouTube channel. I just got sick of leaving giant comments that no one would read, so I started to do videos.
Now he just makes giant videos nobody watches.
Exactly.
But baby steps, ladies and gentlemen. We're not friends. The parasocial relationship was only one way. I'm friends with everybody. I like everybody. Yeah, I think Rocky Horror Picture Show was like proto progressivism. You know what I mean? I don't like anything about it. I don't like anything about it. I like
You know
people.
what? Okay, just learn this as a sidetrack. I don't know how many of you might be subscribed to. What is it? Midnight? Oh, I can't remember what the name of the channel is. He was talking about how they put out a anniversary edition of Crocodile Dundee, and guess what they did? They cut out the scene with the transvestite. And
Yep,
I'm
buy
saying to myself,
physical. Yep,
yeah,
it's a funny joke. I mean, come on, guys. The guy lives in the freaking jungles. You know what I mean? Like, it's a funny joke, and it works. And it's the joke everybody remembers. That and this is a knife. Those are the two jokes everybody remembers in that movie. Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe was messed up. Absolutely. The more I read about Poe, the more fascinated I'm getting by him. I couldn't read. Poe was too difficult for me as a kid. But once you read Lovecraft, you could read other stuff. I forced myself to read Lovecraft as a kid, way too young. And then from Lovecraft, he started talking about Andros Pierce and Poe and everything. So that when I branched off but I started with Poe and I couldn't read it. It was too tough for me.
I'll have to put that on my list, John. I have complete works of Edgar Allan Poe somewhere in my bookshelf. I'm going to have to put that on my list.
Yeah, I'm kind of fascinated. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was just like found dead on a park bench. Like he just died on a park bench. I heard Stephen could point out how weird it is that people hung up on that sex scene in it, not the gruesome child murders. I don't know what to say. See ya. Lovecraft was one of the pioneers of let's take something normal and make it actually disturbing. I have a book of Lovecraft stories that he was the ghostwriter for other people, and I'll tell you, he saved the most disturbing stuff for other people's names. He's like, oh, cool. You mean people's not going to trace this to me? This is about necrophilia. You know what I mean? He did some real creepy stories for other people. I wonder if other people even read the stories. God, I'm going to make the Punisher chilly. Did you see the new Spider-Man movie, RJ?
I did not. Well, just here and there, bits and pieces, but I didn't sit down and watch the whole thing.
I liked it. I liked it. It was my favorite. It was one of my favorite Marvel movies. I think they turned in a corner. I have minor weird criticisms that my wife rolls her eyes, but overall, just to sit and watch, it was exciting. Now, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a big problem that a lot of people have. I just remind myself that the MCU and the comic books are different. Once I get past that, but I will say the Punisher, 100% spot on correct. Punisher did nothing wrong in that movie. Why is the comments not going? Yo, Matt, the whole room smells like newsprint. It's glorious. Oh, that's right. Bobby was in my comic book room. Yeah, it belongs in the museum. Shield mask with sunglasses. We got to fly Chuck up. I would love to meet Chuck. I would absolutely love to meet Chuck Dixon.
It's not that far away.
He lives in Florida. I live in New York. I don't know where in Florida he lives.
That's not that far away.
Yeah, I would love to meet Chuck. Maybe
the same distance between you and me, basically. About a little more.
Well, you're up in past the Arctic Circle. You're pretty far. I would imagine RJ is a cross between a Yeti and a Wilford Brimley. Exactly. I picture, he's in the shed in the Antarctica. I want to come out now. I'll be good.
I just watched that last night.
I saw you. That was you. I saw you. Yeah, people. Everybody listens. Do you listen to It's the height of my Wednesdays. Is Ask Chuck Dixon. It reminds me of people love Freddy Krueger. Downplay that. Yeah, I know. Freddy Krueger is none of these slashers. People who I can understand being fascinated with serial killers, being fascinated, but like these people that like love them. I don't know, like these women that write love letters to what's his name, the Night Stalker. What's his name, Ted Bundy. What is wrong with these people? Many internet drama. Yeah. Pissed off, passionate gamer. First off, hello and thank you for watching. Second off, you are absolutely right. I don't want to be mean, and I'm not saying this to be mean to anybody, but a lot of people are lacking in their personal lives, and they take their favorite YouTuber as their best friend. Now, not me. You are my best friend. Everybody who watches me is my best friend. I'm different, but you know what I'm saying. I'm being facetious, but like, I started doing YouTube because during COVID nobody was talking and everybody was sitting around. So I'm a social guy, and I was like, the world is crazy, and I want to talk to people. And I turned out
As a gamer, that's one of the things I hit upon when I did that old video that's about Marika Tamaki. What's the best writer who will never write a good comic? Was basically, I think, the title of that video, because she said that in one of her interviews. I think it was like CBC or something like that. She was saying that basically she takes life experience from everywhere, including, she thinks life experience can be watching a television show, and she takes that as life. It's not. I'm sorry. It's, you're watching a television show, and that's not life experience. It's someone else's filter of life experience through a screen.
The way I would describe that, who was I talking to about this? But like, okay, so I read a novel, all right? So I'm going to read I don't know, Crime and Punishment. Great book, excellent book. You know, this guy wants to kill somebody. He's justified in his mind and stuff like that. So then I want to write a book about my guy who wants to kill somebody. Dostoevsky, I don't know if that really happened in his life. I don't know enough about that gentleman to know this, but he wrote a story, and now I'm writing a story inspired by a story. Great art inspires great art. But it's like cloning a clone, and then you clone a clone, and then you clone a clone, and then you got defects. You know what I mean? Like, somewhere you got to go out and actually experience something. Now, like, I don't know. I only like Leonardo da Vinci. This is a terrible example, but so I only paint the Mona Lisa or something like that. Dude already painted it better than you. Go out and do something. You know, I don't know. Am I making sense? Yes, Ace Ventura, the gagging from the gender reveal was hilarious. And I'll even do you one better. Do you remember Slumber Camp or Sleepaway Camp? The whole reveal was that the hot girl was really a guy, and it was a horrific reveal that scared people for a generation. It terrified people. Go watch that movie. It'll show you how different it was, that to find out that the hot girl was really a guy made him a monster in a monster movie. You know what I mean? And now it swings the other way. Nobody knows how he died. Didn't love Ghost Story, a Mummy Story? I think he did. Yeah, for Under the Pyramids for Harry Houdini. It's a really weird story, even for Lovecraft. Got to turn your brain on. I liked it. The fights were awesome. The left is always raging against Lovecraft. His work continues to use his mythos and proud of. Yeah, it's different when we do it. It's funny because I was just saying this yesterday. Everybody talks about Lovecraft's racism, yet they conveniently forget that 90% of his bad guys were poor white people. Lovecraft hated poor white people. You know, everybody talks about the racism, yet they ignore the classism. If you were a poor white trash guy, chances are you were the villain in a Lovecraft story. You know, how many of Lovecraft stories the bad guys were black people or Hispanic people or even mentioned a Chinese person? You know what I mean? The bad guys in Lovecraft story were poor white people. So the whole racism stuff, knock it off. Kind of a weird quirk, but the MCU's Punisher hair irks me in every scene. He should have slicked it back like a greaser. That's the kind of nitpick that I have, you know. Women use social media as therapy. It's not really, it's a type of reality. Yeah. I don't say, because I feel like I'm being mean to my wife when we talk about women in social media. So I'm like stepping back, but I think women are going crazy because of social media. There's no other way to say it. You know what I mean? We'll have the fight later, honey. I know you're watching right now, but I think social media is driving women crazy.
I don't know who it was, but I think the fellow who came up with the idea, I don't know, was like 10 years ago, who said that social media is the equivalent of video games for women. It's a social video game where you get points for likes and retweets and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that is it. I got to think about that. That's pretty interesting. I'm not sure if Hollywood randomly makes good movies by accidentally making a sympathetic conservative character, or makes good movies when the money gets tight to subsidize the bad. I don't know. Go watch the first Incredibles movie. The Incredibles, capes, no capes. Everybody loves that movie. To me, that's the best superhero movie ever made. Oh, my wife just said she agrees with me. I'm off the hook, guys. All right, I'll see you. I'm not going to die tonight. Okay. It's not good to piss off your wives. For all of you who are married, don't piss off your wives. Be nice to her. But anyway, The Incredibles, go watch that movie. That is like the most conservative movie ever made. And I bet you it was on accident. My evidence that it was on accident is that the sequel to it is so progressive. It's almost like it was made by a different team. This could be a whole thesis paper on the difference between The Incredibles 1 and The Incredibles 2. So I don't know what to say to you, Zach, and I think you're right. You know, like this movie right now, the new Spider-Man movie, I think it's oh crap, we can't afford to bleed money anymore. We're going to course correct. You know, and I'm sure there's people who don't like it. They have valid reasons, but my expectations were so low. But to me, they finally made a Spider-Man movie. That's I don't want to spoil it because RJ didn't see it. I made a video of it last night if you want to watch it. Chicks dig psychopaths and want to be taken seriously. My theory is that every woman suffers from main character syndrome, and every woman projects themselves into a story, and they think, oh, the serial killer, I could change him, or I'm special, he's not going to kill me, or I could fix him. And then they get victimized. I understand the interest in true crime, but there's a point where it definitely more. I think everybody, especially anybody who wants to be a writer, gets fascinated. RJ, did you ever go through a true crime phase?
Not really. I'm more, let's say, historical crime, like war crimes, stuff like that, right? I don't think I suppose you could think of that as a true crime thing, but I remember I watch a couple of those true crime videos on YouTube, and then all of a sudden it was the only thing that they were recommending to me. And I was like, I don't want to see that anymore. I really don't want to. I watched a couple and it's like, I don't want to see that part of humanity anymore. Don't shove it in my left side of my view because it's going to seep into my brain. I like to think about the virtues.
My friend Paul, he was working at the post office for a while, like as a summer job, like when we were in late teens, and they just gave him like a set of Time Life books on serial killers, and he was like, "Thanks," and he just gave it to me. He was my college roommate, and I started reading them, and I got really into it. And I read about this Russian serial killer, and I was really fascinated with the fact that the Soviet Union's political stance was serial killing is a product of capitalism, that it doesn't exist under communism. That to me was absolutely fascinating. And there was one guy, if I may go on a tangent, he was assigned, everybody like took some sort of aptitude tests. He wanted to be a factory worker. He wanted to be a foreman in a factory. That's what he wanted. But he was told that he had the aptitude to be a police detective. And he didn't want to be a police detective. He wanted the factory. He wanted the stable hours. You know what I mean? It basically came with an apartment, and a nice, easy life. That's what he wanted. But it turned out he was perfect. And he challenged the superiors that there was a serial killer. And he went to France. He went to the United States during the Soviet Union, during the 70s and 80s. And he captured, I forget the guy's name, but he killed like 63 women. Prostitutes, poor people, mentally retarded women, and stuff like that. And he captured, and they made him let him go because they were like, no, there's no such thing as serial killers. So he had to like fight. That to me was fascinating. So that's besides the point. So there is cool stuff to learn by reading about this stuff. But when I got to the book on David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, and I was fascinated with him because I lived in New York during that time. I remember my father telling my older sisters, you can't go outside because they fit the profile. They had the long, straight black hair and everything. They're like, and I remember my neighbors driving around. Everybody had cars that said, we're looking for the son of Sam because they had rewards. So I remember that. But man, it was so disturbing. I never finished the book and I'm like, I can't read anymore. And then my wife will be on social media and she'd be like, oh, this kid died and stuff. After I finally yelled at her. I was like, please, for the love of God, stop showing me all of this miserable stuff of mothers that kill their kids, and I can't take it anymore. And you know what's funny? If you look at my phone right now and you scroll through my Instagram and my Twitter, I'm no joke, it's comic books and cat videos because I can't deal with this anymore. I got to the point where it was like, messing with me mentally. You know what I mean? Like, the world is terrible. We went through COVID. The government's lying to us. I don't trust anybody, even my politician. I don't trust. I just want to watch cat videos. I turned into the biggest wuss in the world. You know what I mean? And me and my wife are watching Hallmark movies going, oh man, this, if only we lived in that town where the Christmas lights twinkle year round, you know?
That's one of the things, again, talking about my old videos, one of the things I tried to do, because you remember Richard was always going onto Twitter and going onto people's Twitter feeds and seeing what they were doing and all that kind of stuff. Your quote unquote progressive comic writers. And I tried to do it a couple of times just to see what I would see. And I just could not just stay on one of these heavy progressive people. I could not stay on their Twitter feed and go through it and read through it, because after about 5 minutes, I felt like I was looking into the mind of an insane person. And it was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in the mind of an insane person. I honestly do not.
Yeah. Sleepaway Kids. I'm so behind in the chats. People are talking about that. That was the name of the movie. Brad Bird is an objectivist. He's very talented. He's very talented. I heard they're making a third Incredibles movie, and I am not looking forward to it. It was, they got, well, the John Lasseter, for Me Too reason. Oops. It's actually not an objectivist. Okay. Girls Want Bad Boys Things might be mistaking his badness for... It's danger. It's excitement. I at the risk of telling too much, my friend, one of my friends, I'm not going to mention his name, not that anybody knows him anyway, but he married, this guy's a surgeon, successful surgeon. And I don't know what they do over in Canada, but like, when you're an intern, you're working like 80 hours a week. He was like sleeping at work, and, you know, just to, and she went and had affairs behind his back. And she was just like, I was just bored. This guy was like an Adonis. He was just a handsome guy. He worked out. He wanted kids. He was a surgeon. And she just wanted excitement because she couldn't deal with the fact for 2 years, this guy had to establish residency. Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, you done messed up, you know? And it turned out that everybody in his family is like high-powered lawyers, except for him. He's a surgeon. They took her to the clinic. She lost custody. She lost everything. You don't mess with this guy's family. So I hope that was exciting for you. You know, but I don't know. Women, they want excitement and danger, which, all right, yeah, that's cool. I understand that, but like, grow up. You know, grow up. A lot of true crime YouTubers are woke as hell, pushing agendas along with the murders. I don't want to watch true crime. The real, you know, made a new movie for Netflix. I'm scared if it was wokeness. Yeah, because he also made Iron Giant, which is one of my favorite movies. Cartoon movie. I love Iron Giant. RJ, what are your thoughts on why so many feminists support? Oh, here you go. RJ, what do you think about this woman who strangled her kids and women are supporting her?
Tony, I don't know if I can make this short or not, but I'll try to be really short and see if something comes out of it. It's a lack of accountability. That's really what it is. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, this is almost everybody today, but it's much more prevalent for women. I think they do not want to take accountability for their actions at all. And if you can get some woman who obviously deserves to be in an institution for the rest of her life, I don't care if it's prison or in a nut house, one of those two, that's where she's got to be. If you can get her off, if you can get the world to say, no, she's fine, she can go back into the world, that's the ultimate statement of women don't need to take accountability for their actions. And again, it's women and men at this point, but much more so for females than for males, I think. But that's the ultimate statement right there. They identify with her because they want to have no accountability for their actions. Pure, simple, and it's disturbing as all get out.
Well, I forget who said this, but I kind of agree with them. If my wife is watching and she gets upset, that's not the intent. But I think men evolved, you know, in the history of humanity. This civilization is only 10,000 years old, but human beings, I've been reading that human beings now have been around for like millions of years. So for most of human, RJ said, my wife just said, he's nicer than I am. My wife said she would kill that woman. I guess I shouldn't say that. But anyway, For millions of years, human men had to go out, hunt, fight in wars, and they had to. This is true. This is not true. This is true. This is not true. These are, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't have the luxury of following the not true stuff, or they would die in the hunt. You know what I mean? Things like that. Whereas women were, I'm trying to be as nice as possible, were provided for. They had to, I fit in or I don't fit in. Like, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. What matters is, do I fit in or not? Like, this guy is providing the food. This is what he wants. In order to survive, I have to fit in. I don't like it. That doesn't matter. Look at like the women getting married off in royalty. They didn't love that guy, but they had to fit in their social status. It's just, unfortunately, that's the way it is. I didn't make the rules. I didn't create evolution, and I didn't create social, but that's the way it is. So I think now with Twitter and TikTok, you get all of these people, all these women, and they just want to fit in. And now, like, look at COVID. I couldn't convince any of the women except my wife. My wife is pretty resistant to the stuff. I couldn't convince any of the women in my family that COVID wasn't real and that the shot was fake. I'm looking at the evidence. It came from a place in Wuhan, and there's a place called the COVID research facility. What are the odds? You know what I mean? I'm like, where are they getting these bats from? Where are they isolated? They're not. Now there's a medicine in only 6 months. It takes 10 years. I'm not taking the. My wife right away said, I'm not taking this freaking shot. And now they're seeing, the postpartum depression. But we just like everybody else. We should be politicians, except now we get psychotic and can kill our own children. And like now they're like that whole. I know I'm ranting and I'm sounding like a crazy person, but like, don't you remember last year it was like, I would rather be in the woods with a bear than a man. You know what I mean? And now they don't want men in the WNBA. All right, so we'll put bears in the WNBA instead. How's that working out for you? They can't define what a woman is, but now women would run the world better because the woman who stands up to these crazy people is going to get lectured down and ostracized. And that is death to most women. Like they need it evolutionary. They need to fit in. I don't know. So now what we got to do is like, I don't know. I don't know what we got to do. I was going to come up with a solution, but I can't come up with a solution. Like, do we just, I don't know, EMP and take out the whole internet? You know what I mean? I don't know. Do you know the painter Roy Lichtenstein? And if so, what do you think of him? He was the one that swiped Kirby and Ditko and everybody and got to be famous and rich while everybody else wasn't. So that's pretty much all you need to know how I think about him.
Yeah, I don't know him very much except for he's that pop art guy. That's about it.
I think a lot of women believe it's to make a dangerous man more moral than to make a moral man more dangerous. I think it's main character syndrome. I'm special. It's why Twilight was such a big deal. They had this one plain Jane girl who wasn't even described in the books, and all the vampires loved her and all the werewolves, and nobody would ever dream of hurting her.
I think you and Zach Taylor are saying the exact same thing. I'm the main character, therefore this guy who will not change for anyone else will change for me.
Right. It's power. I know a San Francisco police who supports the child. It's insane. And I'm all for these men who are like breaking up with their fiancés. It's like, you support this woman, I can't marry you. I read something about an ancient Grecian tale about how a woman committed suicide and then she got made other. Yep. I don't know if this is true because I'm a Greek history guy, but he was a king of Miletus. And the story goes that a woman committed suicide. Unfortunately, that happens. And then everybody in the town got together and praised this woman. And next thing you know, someone was like, look at all the attention. So she killed herself. And now she's getting all the attention. And there was a rash of suicides. And then finally the king said, the next woman who commits suicide, we're going to strip her body naked and I'm going to hang it on that pole and let it rot for everybody to see. And there was no more suicides. I don't know if it's a true story, but that's what I heard. They have yeah. And we just want to be paid what we're owed. Dude, you only exist because you're subsidized by the men's league. Women are biologically geared to entertain and follow and fitted because it takes a village to raise a child. That's right. Yep. I don't mean to be sexist, but biology is biology. Why do you think the powers of constantly putting men and women against divide and conquer? RJ, what do you think?
Yeah, divide and conquer. But besides that, it's taken what, since the 1960s, all they've ever done is try to strain out masculinity from our culture, and they've gotten to the point where there's so many effeminate men, non-masculine men there, that they don't need too much more effort than just women to keep them in check anymore. That's my take on it.
I will say, who was it? The guy you're always quoting, the guy who wrote that book, Sal Alinsky, I think it was. Basically, you got to get the liberal women. You know, they're easy to trick. And then didn't Orwell say like the women will be the chief enforcers?
Yeah, and that's the Communist Catechism that I read like 2 months ago on my channel. That's one of the main points he has. Get to the women; they are the main stay of trying to control society. Is basically
Right.
what he said.
Yeah, that Orwell said it in 1984. You know, evolution requires the law of entropy doesn't exist. It's proven. Everything is here. Evolution. Okay, that's beyond my head. I don't know enough about evolution or non-evolution. Also, why are they often so concerned with matching outfits? Yeah, fashion is a psyop. You know what I mean? Fashion, it's all conformity. And women are conformists. I'm sorry, but women are conformists. I've noticed that progressive fiction have a preference for vampires. Longbox stream, how you doing? China owns the NBA. China is SO. I've noticed that the only right in which all humanity is unanimously believed is the right of conquest. That entertainment, which is a physics phenomenon where lower frequencies follow and conform to strong. I don't. Wow, it's getting above. It's getting above my intelligence. We're all caught. Oh, I thought I was all caught up in another. Entertainment is humans. Oh, entrainment. Oh, I thought you said entertainment. Can easily be seen in crowds that became such as marching band formation, spontaneous crowd. Yeah. Human beings, unfortunately or unfortunately, nobody is a true individual. We are social animals. Human beings are not strong enough to be a polar bear, meaning we exist and provide all of our needs. I don't care who you are. Grizzly Adams needed somebody to make an axe so he could chop down the tree. RJ over here, you know, buys his bullets from somebody else. So don't go to his house. He's got a lot of bullets. But you know what I mean? Like he doesn't mind the lead. Human beings cannot provide for 100% of all their needs. It's just not the way it is. So we have to be conformist in some sort of way. And men are conformists, women are extra conformists. You know what I mean? That's it's just the way it is. And I do think that the powers that be, whether it's the media, the government, the Soroses or whatever, the CIA, whatever, the Epsteins, they use that desire for people to conform against us. So yes, I think there is some good conformity. When the bus pulls up, we all line up. You know what I mean? When we pay for our food. And if the clerk gives us too much change, we give the proper money back. You know what I mean? We have manners. There's good conformity. You know what I mean? Little kids toilet train each other. If you've ever taught, little kids, you know what I mean? You bring a kid in. The one kid in diapers is not going to be in diapers after a week of being around other kids that are toilet trained. Positive shaming is a thing. But you have to be smart enough to. Am I being manipulated? You know what I mean? All the powers that be are using my natural ability to conform against me. You know, the Japanese have a saying, the nail that sticks out will be hammered down. You know, and I used to make fun of the Japanese, but now I'm like, man, I'm kind of envious of their high trust culture, you know? And look, our desire to not be called a racist has been weaponized against us. You know, look at Europe. Europe's on fire right now because people are afraid to be called a racist, you know? Likewise, teach the older women to be reverent in the way they live, but to teach what is good, when they can urge the younger women to love their husbands and children. Bible quotes here. the kind of stuff I have to write about. Yeah, big idea. Good. I'll look forward to it. You're very thoughtful. I was a marching band in high school, played the trombone. I was going to make a dirty joke about the trombone, but I will not. Marketing and those men of that stuff. Yep, yeah. We are all. Somebody mentioned McDonald's the other day, and my wife was working from home. I went upstairs and said, I'm going to McDonald's. Why? Because somebody mentioned McDonald's. And I drove to McDonald's, and I got myself a Big Mac. I got my wife a quarter pounder with cheese, and I got some of the best piping hot fries. It was, aren't you just used to incompetence when you go to McDonald's? I was like, wow, this guy's really pleasant. Wow, this girl's really, like, I went to the drive-thru. First guy took my money, and he was like, how you doing, sir? And he was, and the other girl, she had everything wrapped up in the fries. I was like, wow, I was driving home eating the fries. That's my favorite, driving home eating the hot fries. So by the time I get home, my wife has, like, no fries. She's like, she can't complain because I was treating. It's part nature, but part socialization. Yeah, in the Japanese schools, like, they say that they don't teach anything the first year or 2 years of school. The kids just learn how to be socialized, how to fit in. We don't even do that.
They learn manners.
What's that?
Manners.
Yeah, they learn manners.
How to play.
And how to play and how to share. I don't know. We America needs like a come to Jesus meeting. Just RJ, do you think RoboCop or Frankenstein have souls? Here we go. The big questions. Do you think RoboCop or Frankenstein have souls? Or do you think that because they're reanimated corpses, they no longer possess one?
I don't think RoboCop is a reanimated corpse. I think RoboCop stayed a human being. We're talking about the old RoboCop or the new one. I think that he would continually live, so he had a soul. Frankenstein, no. I think that's what makes Frankenstein such a horror book. And you read the book. Don't look at any of these movies, but read the book. That's what makes it a horror. And it goes back to I used to talk about Augustine. He discusses a lot in the City of God how the Romans tried to reanimate things or to ensoul them and trap souls or demons or things like that, extra souls into statues and stuff like that. I think that's part of the horror of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The reanimation is almost like a Greek trapping of a spirit into a body that it should not be human. So, again, that's my take on it.
Look at all of like the great stories in alchemy and stuff like what can I think of? But that book, the Golem, the Golem of Prague. What the takeaway is, whenever human beings create artificial life, it always ends badly. Like homunculuses, imps, golems, Frankensteins. I consider Frankenstein a golem.
AI.
Yeah, AI. The funny thing about AI is I just read Chuck Dixon's Evangeline, rather, in 1987, and it's all about AI and souls and stuff like that. 40 years early. This was Stephen did. Strong-willed men naturally established to fight dominance and hierarchy, even in the comics, whereas women naturally flow with the path of least resistance. I think he sums up my point pretty well here. There are always outliers and exceptions, of course. Fair conformity is to be civil. Civil conformity isn't the same as getting the boxcar in the 40s. Yeah. I just think, we lost our high trust society because we're too tolerant. You know what I mean? Like, we need to. Here's a rant. RJ, tell me what you think of this. We need to establish like a baseline standard for people to come to America. Like, does your country practice this?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, let's be realistic. Like, if Haiti is so bad, if sending these Haitians back is a death trap, well, then why not just absorb all of Haiti then? Why not just conquer it? If Haiti is that bad, wouldn't the civil and humane thing to do is to invade it and conquer it? You know what I mean? But what is think about this? We just lost the temporary for 35 years. They had temporary protections in the United States. A third of Haiti is within the United States. I don't know how many Somalians, because Somalia, it's a death trap to send them back to Somalia. So what is more fair and equitable and whatever easier, not easier. That's a bad word. But what would be the most expedient way to save lives if Haiti is so bad? Take every Haitian off that island and bring them here. That means we're taking the criminals. We're taking it's not because the land is cursed. Like voodoo isn't real, ladies and gentlemen. There's not an evil presence on Haiti that's making Haiti an evil place. It's Haitians. So what is the criteria for taking the Haitians into the United States? And if it's so bad, how many get to come here? And if sending them back is so bad, then wouldn't it just be better for everybody in Haiti if we just invaded and occupied it? And now we're talking about we're back to colonialism. So, you know what I mean? Like Africa. Oh no, these Somalians, they need to come here. Somalis. Okay, so how about you all go back? You get to stay in your ancestral land where you have your roots, your history, and everything like that. It's just that we now control it because you come in here. But it's not that. It's about conquering the West. It's about destroying Western civilization. And the liberals need to understand that. If it's a paradox. So Haiti is that bad? Let's send in the army. I forget who it was, but it was an African politician. He says Africa is terrible. Nobody wants to come here. It's horribly run. And there's only two things that you could do to help Africa. Either stop all the aid, because right now all the aid to Africa is just making it bearable enough that the people don't rise and revolt. So all the Mr. Beasts, all the US aid and all of the US aid for South Africa, he goes, you got to stop that. So things get so bad that the people overthrow their corrupt governments. He goes, but the United States and Europe, they don't have the stomach to do that. The other thing they could do is just freaking invade and take out all the country. He goes, and then you have colonialism again. He goes, and you don't have the stomach to do that. He goes, so Africa is doomed. You know, so I don't know. Like, we have freedom of religion in the United States. It's one of our cornerstones. We need to define what a religion is. I know this is controversial. Like okay, Scientology. I don't particularly like it. You know, Christianity. Okay, I got no problem. Judaism, Hinduism, Islam. My problem with Islam is compulsion. Can a religion have an element of compulsion in it? And if the answer is no, it cannot have an element of compulsion, then Islam does not fit the basic definition of a religion. And what I'm talking about is you cannot leave Islam. To become an apostate, to reject Islam is a death sentence, according to the book, according to the rules. Therefore, it does not qualify as a religion in my book. It should not be protected by freedom of religion. It should be outlawed. Can I start a philosophy, a way of life, and if you criticize it, you have to join it, and then if you leave it, we get to kill you? Nobody in their right mind would say that that's a sane philosophy, you know what I mean? Or whatever you want to call it, religion, philosophy, whatever. Why do we make that exception with Islam? Why? Because we're too nice, we're too tolerant, and this tolerance is killing us. I'm not saying what Saudi Arabia wants to do. I'm sorry, Saudi Arabians who live there, you're probably nice people, but it's none of my business. I'm sorry, Iraq. I like the Persians. The women are beautiful. I'm sorry, but like we got our own problems here, and Islam does not fit the definition of a religion. You know, Islam is a military ideology disguised as religion. Yes, I absolutely. If you leave Islam, you're treated like you're an apostate. An apostasy from Islam is a death sentence. I've had friends, they were Pakistanis, you know, and they came to America because they made the mistake of admitting that they didn't believe in Islam, and they had to flee for their lives. And then it was really sad because they got married in the United States. They had everything was going good, and then the husband, Bushy, he just dropped dead of a brain tumor that nobody knew. He went to Canada and dropped dead from a brain tumor. If Scientology is a cult, I do believe it's a cult, but you're allowed to leave, but then they play, you know what I mean? That's a touchy one. That's a touchy one. Because then they make your life miserable for leaving. But I don't know. Wow, there's a lot of comments, guys. Kids can't read. I absolutely agree with that. RJ, I'm sorry I'm talking so much.
No, it's good.
I tell you,
actually sparking some new ideas here, John.
But my cousin, had to stop talking to her on Facebook because she just pissed me off. She's a California school teacher. And every weekend it was like, my job is so stressful. I have the worst. My job is so difficult. And every picture was like, oh, I'm off for this week, and she's in a hammock drinking a margarita. I'm like, try working on a rooftop in Manhattan in August and tell me your job is tough. Okay, now my job is tough, but I'm not on Facebook. Oh, I have the worst job in the world. Feel bad for me, and you're off every other weekend. So I was just like, you know what? If kids would graduate high school and could make change and tell the time, I would give you some credit. But kids are retarded when they graduate high school. They don't know history, and they're all brainwashed. So I don't want to hear about your tough job because you're not doing it. And whoa, I'm not too much fun. I'm not invited to Thanksgiving anymore. Yeah, he didn't actually die. He was to quote Monty Python, he was mostly dead. Yeah, manners. Stephen Silhouette. Soul in the scripture is the Greek word. I can't pronounce it. That's where we get our word psyche. So a soul is simply a conscious mind. Stogie time. Everybody smoke them if you got them. Oh, God. RJ. Tony wants to bring us back into it. RJ, do you think the replicants of Blade Runner have souls? Would a clone of a human being have a soul?
Well, yes. Clone of a human being would have a soul because it's made from humans beget humans, but it depends on the replicants. Some people say the replicants are what originally they were supposed to basically just be clones. That's what they were, but then you add in all the alien stuff, and they're not clones. They're more robots or what do you call them? Androids. So if they're androids or robots, no, they don't have a soul. If they are clones, then yes, they do have a soul. Because again, like begets like. And if you're using human matter in order to create a human being, even if you do it, unfortunately, outside of a woman, then it's still like begets like. They're still human beings unless they still have a soul.
It's funny. Whenever my wife wants my attention, she calls me dude. She sent me a message. Dude, RJ is nicer than I would. That woman doesn't get lethal injection. I don't want to repeat what she says that woman should get. But whenever I see a message from my wife that says dude, I know I said something that, she either disagrees with or is like, dude, you're wrong. Asian countries value conformity. South Korea, China, and Japan have social harmony on the populace, even if the individual's right to them not rocking the boat is yeah.
See, that's what I was thinking, Incubus, when John was talking. This is the exact thing. Okay. Yes, you're right about the Asian countries, but this is why European countries actually do so well. We're not conformist, but here's why the quote unquote progressive people want to take down systemic racism and systemic this and systemic injustice, is because those systemic things is what actually is. I hate to say it, and I'm going to take this back, I'm sure at some point, the virtue of our society, because we allow for disharmonious people to actually exist amongst us. And that's where we are allowed to come up with better ideas, because we have a challenging of the normal ideas. And so you get these odd ideas that come into our culture, and it allows for new ideas to percolate through it. But it only works if we have an overarching system that clamps down on everybody and oppresses them to a point where it says, okay, you're allowed to express your idea, but you're stepping into a different realm here. We're cutting you off. No, you're not doing it here. You're not bringing your rainbow flag out into the street where you're wearing nothing but a string. Okay, you're just not doing that.
If I could, I was talking to my wife. She joined some like a non-denominational church, and I don't want to, I'm thinking of going to a Latin mass, a Roman Catholic Latin mass. I still haven't done it yet, but that if I go back to church, I'm going back in time. You know what I mean? I'm going where that priest is in Latin. You know what I mean? And I said, I said, I think that these non-denominational churches, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong. I said, but they promote change too fast by the very nature of them. And I'm not saying that's good, I'm not saying that's bad, but like one of the comforts to me of Roman Catholicism, and there is problems with it, like I don't like this current pope right now, and there has been bad popes, and of course there has been problems, but new ideas, they go through the mills, they go through testing and scrutiny, and you know what I mean, and the really good ones will make it through, and the really bad ones, they never make it to us. Like the Roman Catholic Church, as far as I know, is never going to have like, Jesus wanted abortion, you know, but you hear that in these non-denominational Protestant religions, you know, by some lesbian preacher woman, you know, wearing a pink rainbow jacket, and you're like, how can you go to church and believe this and call yourself a Christian? Now, this church is in Canada that say the cross and Jesus is problematic, and they're opening up like Muslim prayer rooms. It's like, I'm going to a Latin mass. Like that's what I think is what America does. Is like these crazy ideas, they'll come in and they'll get diffused, you know, and if it's good, it'll float to the top. If it's a bad idea, but now we're just letting in everybody, and they don't. I'm just going to say it, like these Indians that come from India, they don't give a crap about the American work ethic. They don't give a crap about America. They don't give a crap about George Washington. They're coming here to scam as much as they possibly can out of America, and every single one of them is going to retire back to India. They have no, you know what I mean? This is just something to be used and exploited and then get the hell out.
I was just thinking, John. Okay, that's exactly why I think that the reason why Jack Kirby is such an influence on American society is because he lived in a time and place where he wasn't wanted, and he had to work to become a part of the city around him. Same with the Italians, same with the Irish, doesn't matter. It's like, you're coming in here, you're an outsider, we don't want you here. You got to prove yourself to be an American. You have to prove yourself to be a New Yorker, all these kinds of things. You have to prove that you can walk up this street, right? And that's what makes those people American. That's what makes them want to be here and actually contribute. That's what I think.
Well, it's not just, it's well known that the less desirable characters take the, I don't know if this is true or not, but I believe it. And I remember at one point looking it up, but I don't remember. But anyway, remember USA for Africa, you know, US, whatever, Live Aid, Bob Geldof from the Boomtown Rats. This is probably beyond, maybe RJ is the only person who remembers this, but I think it was like 1988. And Bob Geldof, we are the world, we are the children, and they raised billions of dollars for Africa. That money made it to was it I forget, was it Somalia, was it Ethiopia? I forget exactly where. But then the warlords came and they took all the aid and all the food and all the everything, and at gunpoint it wasn't delivered. The warlords took it all. The people never got it, and then the warlords sold it all and formed the Taliban. So Bob Geldof from the Boomtown Rats, an Irish guy, good guy, inadvertently caused the collapse of the World Trade Center and the surveillance state and everything that's going on. Why? Because he wanted to help Africa. We can't help it. It's just knock it off. We can't help Africa. We it's either conquer or leave it alone. And this half-ass stuff, like look at Mr. Beast. He goes in there. I don't trust that guy. There's something about, first off, he calls himself Mr. Beast. And then he's like aimed at children. There's something sinister about that guy, and I base it on nothing but a gut feeling. And then he goes to Africa and they makes these water filtration systems and then leaves, and then the people are tearing them apart, selling them for scrap metal, and then get mad at Mr. Beast for not maintaining them. It's like, at what point is a country responsible for taking care of its constituents? You know what I mean? Like, is it like, sorry, I'm a good Christian guy, you know, I believe in it, but like, dude, at some point, the Lord loves a working man. Get up and take care of yourself.
That was the reading for today, John. Just to let you know, he who does not work does not eat.
Yeah, I've studied religion and human behavior. The more agnostic I've become. Like I said, I went through this hardcore atheist phase. I to be honest, I still don't know what I actually believe, but I'm at the I think it's Hitchens that said he would rather be an agnostic in a Christian nation, you know, than a non-Christian nation. You know what I mean? I mean, let's face it, man. the more Christian America was, the better it was. You know, just I mean, the Reagan years were horrible when everybody was working and the music was great and comic books were awesome and movies were great and the streets were safe and you didn't have to unlock your doors. But remember those horrible Reagan years that everybody complained about? Man, they're like a wet dream compared to right now. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know. Oh, the 50s. The 50s was oppressive when the wives could stay home and take care of their 16 kids and the husbands just went to a job, you know, and everybody was smoking in their cars with no seatbelts on, getting flung from their cars. How masculine is that? You got thrown from your car when there was a car accident. Man, you couldn't. That's got to be the most masculine thing ever. Remember Bob? Yeah, he got into a car accident. He was thrown from his car through his windshield into a tree. He died like a man with a cigarette in his mouth. No freaking seatbelt. That guy was a man. You know, the 50s were awesome. Me and my wife, we talk about if you could go back in time, where would you go? And of course, she's like, I'd go back in time and see Jesus. And I always say, yeah, and then give everybody a disease and everybody dies, yourself included, caught a plague. And she's like, you ruin everything. She's like, what about you? I was like, first off, I'd buy like a sailor's outfit. And then, you know, all those scenes if you see like World War II is over and the boats show up and all the sailors are coming out and just watch it. I would just materialize in that crowd in a sailor's outfit. And, you know, like 1948, and then just live the next 20 years. Oh my God, that's life in easy mode. Just go get some job. You know, I already know who's going to win every Super Bowl, start betting, buy every comic book, hold on to it for 20 years. You know what I mean? That freaking adult just came in here and bought every copy of Fantastic Four #1. What, that guy's a lunatic. You know what I mean? And then just, you know, go marry a girl and she's going to bake cakes for the next 20 years, you know, and go get a job at an advertising agency. We are the world. It's you know, I like to teach the world to sing. I'd come up with the Coca-Cola commercial before the Coca-Cola people did. You know, man, that'll be awesome. You know, anybody else who doesn't think of that as what you're going to do when you go back in time, it's the wrong answer. You're going to go to Rome? Do you speak Latin? Did you get your inoculations? Do you like becoming a slave when you can't communicate with people? You know what I mean? Is atheism a religion? I don't know the answer to that. Sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no. Like, is there a system of beliefs? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm not being snarky. I live in Italy. Do you think there's any hope for Europe? Things got to get rough. The Europeans, you got to develop a spine. You know, Germany, they arrest all the right-wing politicians. Like, are you going to just tolerate that? You know, Sicily developed the mafia when things were really bad, basically to push out the Muslims. That's the rise of the mafia. Like, I'm not saying start the mafia again, but I'm kind of saying start the mafia again. you know, they claim because they want attention. Yeah. Public schools have failed. No, they haven't. Public schools are doing exactly what they're supposed to be.
Yep, I agree with John.
Public schools are doing exactly what they're. Look at that lunatic Randy Weingarten who runs all the schools. You think she thinks schools are failing? She's the one who runs. She, like it or not, she's in charge of the school system in America. Ask her if she thinks the schools are failing, and there's your answer. I can't imagine being a roofer if that's. Well, I'm a construction worker. I'm not a literal roofer, but there's electrical stuff on roofs of building. You know, anywhere there's electricity in the 5 boroughs, I'll go there. Underground, roofs, through sewers. Oh, man. That's another reason why I like the Spider-Man movie. They showed through Spider-Man, like he was going through construction sites and swinging, you know what I mean? Like they tend to show, like in all of these Marvel movies, beautiful skyscraper Manhattan, which is nice. But they showed Spider-Man's viewpoint of Manhattan, like landing on I-beams and broken bricks, you know, high up in the air, landing on rooftops and there's buckets and garbage. That I really like. I barely survived the LA USDA system. Now I hate teachers with the pet. Yeah, I hate teachers. As a former public school teacher, F teachers. They're the worst. I'd never met a group of people that did such a consecutively bad job and want a pat on the back for it. Oh my God, I hate teachers. Vote against any school budget because it's going to be wasted anyway. It's pronounced suke. In Greek, U becomes Y, so the exact opposite word. Okay, I didn't know that. Bethany and Din on Hot Baking Sun. Wow, we are that far behind, guys. I'm sorry. RJ, let me know if we're talking too much when you want to stop. Marvel seems to think that clones don't have souls. I was, well, to be honest, we don't really know the answer. You know, I mean, scientists can't prove or disprove souls. Souls is a matter of faith.
Yeah, I don't think all after the Krakoa era Rex, there's no such thing as a soul in the Marvel universe because they're just resurrecting plant-based bodies of them and putting their memories in. There is no soul in the whole Marvel universe anymore. Okay, Tony says, Frankenstein is made up of parts from human beings. Wouldn't the creature have a semblance of a soul? Prick him, does he not bleed? Tickle him, does he not laugh? And wrong him, does he not revenge? That you're assuming, Tony, that a soul is part of a body, which it is not. That's the exact opposite of being part of a body. It exists separate and independent from body and has no parts of its own. So it's a little bit of a bad question. We'll put it that way.
In my role-playing games, we've actually had this debate. Like I know, like elementals and things like that, they don't have souls. But the difference between like an earth elemental and a golem is a golem is a magically created soul. Now that's just in my stupid role-playing game world because it follows other rules. So that was the ruling that we made. Man, I missed my friend that plays V&V with me is moving to North Carolina. We already made plans to start doing it on via webcam, which is not the same, but we've been doing a story for 20 years and we're still not finished yet. I've been keeping secret on what's going to happen in the future. If anybody's curious, his character that he role plays is the metaphysician that RJ read the story. So I'm like finishing the story in our role playing games in the comic book that I'm writing. Liberalism worked its way through institutions like churches. They became liberals first with some Christian. Yeah, but liberal doesn't mean what it means anymore. Like, according to the progressives, liberals get the bullet too, right? Isn't that a slogan?
Definitely. I've seen it spray painted outside of buildings, John.
Yep. Liberalism meant individual rights. Classical liberals, like Sargon of Akkad, RJ's buddy, he was one of the first people that I heard the term a classical liberal, and he used to describe himself as a classical liberal. He doesn't even describe himself, as far as I know, as a classical liberal anymore.
No, he does not describe himself as a liberal at all anymore.
Right, because the Overton window has shifted so much. But I remember I used to tell people, yeah, I'm a classical liberal because I believe in Western values and individual rights and freedom of expression, and that's alt-right Nazi now, So I don't know. Words change, unfortunately, which is why RJ and I get old dictionaries. Yep, Jack Kirby was a man's man. Yeah. We needed a holy Christian crusade, Deus Volt. Don't steal this idea, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm coming up with a religious team of superheroes, and one of them is Deus Volt, V-O-L-T. He's a lightning generator. A lot of people get their way of thinking from entertainment, like The Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park, Rick and Morty, George. Yeah, you can't help it. We're exposed to it, Who I took, Gandhi. The more I learn about Gandhi, the more I don't like. I don't know enough to be an atheist. Can't argue with that. Ironically, the most America helped other countries seems to when we bombed Japan and made them stop being so militaristic down to the yeah. I love that argument. What is more destructive, the atomic bomb or civil rights? I mean, look at Black America. Look at Detroit. What? We bombed Japan, and there's not a person on the planet that's going to say, hey, Japan's not a great country. You know what I mean? If only a Muslim would say that because it's not Muslim. But nobody wants to go to Detroit. Look what Democrats. The atomic bomb is less destructive than Democrat. 50s to the 90s. What are your thoughts on Zoroastrianism, RJ?
I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on Zoroastrianism. Sorry.
It's check out Heroic Tales Christmas special next year. I'm hoping next year. It's gonna feature some Zoroastrianism. I'm fascinated with Christian heresies. Atheism worships how much they don't worship. I mean, atheism is defined by what you don't believe. It's a weird thing, and I think there's a million different definitions. Like everybody could agree what Christianity is, but there's a million different definitions of atheism. Just
I don't think you can be an atheist without being a liberal, because try being an atheist in a country that doesn't have liberals, and you'll see how far that gets you.
yeah, it's true. It's true. Yep. The Catholic Church rules over Quebec since the conquest. People like to call that a bad thing, but they did one thing, and they were really the Catholic Church rules Quebec. Or
No, up until the 60s, until the Quiet Revolution.
okay. Were Jack Kirby and Stan Lee both air gunners in World War II, or just Kirby? I don't know. I know Kirby got hurt in the Battle of the Bulge, right? He got frostbite. He got a Purple Heart. I don't know what Stan Lee did. I don't know. What's up, Brian Christel? How you doing? Oh, we mentioned you earlier. Did your ears bend? We were joking about X-rated content in the Crisis in Infinite Earths, and I said only Brian Christel is writing a X-rated version of Six Gun Gorilla. It was a joke.
Well, it depends. I mean, he's a gorilla. If he appears in his birthday suit at any point, you do realize it's a naked gorilla, right?
I read his script. It's fun. It's fun. Brian's a good writer. He's one of the few people that me and Aaron read it, said nothing changes except for one typo, but it's a typo in the artist notes, so it's not gonna, maybe unless you're talking about God, but even Judeo-Christian God has a body, thus man was made in their image. The Frankenstein monster is my favorite fictional character in any medium except maybe Solomon Kane. Well, okay, I read that wrong. Mary Shelley was an atheist like her husband Shelley, but no doubt he has a soul. I gotta say the novel Frankenstein is a page turner. Oh, it's so good. I know Brian Bow's gonna get mad, but I love Frankenstein the novel more than I love Dracula the novel. Socialism says the rights of the individual will be protected only as long as they don't conflict with the state. Yeah. I was thinking about this today. That social justice is tyranny. What do you think about that, RJ?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I used to put up on my channel go back to Cicero, or even somebody like Yusuf Pieper, who is not an Augustinian. He's a Thomistic philosopher. You have justice is a triangle. It has three sides. There's individual justice, which is the base, and then you have the common weal, and that goes up and down. It goes from one way, from the individual state to the individual. If you take out individual justice and focus only on the common weal, only on the social part of justice, justice becomes unjust. You cannot have any justice unless it's first individual justice that supports it.
Any white person that supports social justice is the definition of suicidal empathy. The idea I commit a crime. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, I commit a crime and I'm innocent. So now I'm standing before the judge and the jury and everybody, and they want to punish me based on the social mores or whatever of the times, based on my race. What does that have to do with me? I wasn't a slave owner, so like, it's magic, it's voodoo, it's psychic powers, it's astrology, it's everything except science based. I wasn't there. This is what I'm accused of. What does my race have anything to do about it? And it's just going to be non-white people punishing white people. So I just don't understand how any white person could stand for social justice, and then any non-white person could get away with horrific crimes because there was bad stuff in the past. We'll go back past far enough. I'm Irish. We could find some bad stuff that happened to my ancestors, but it didn't happen to me. I always say this to people. I'm that guy that argues. I'm working with a lot of black guys, and they're talking about slavery. I said, "Oh yeah, name all 8 of your great grandparents." And what was that? I said, "Name them." I mean, because the past is so important on your life. You obviously know their tragedies and their history and what happened to them. So tell me about them. What were their names? So you don't even know the names of these people. Therefore, they don't exist. Whether they existed, they obviously existed, or you wouldn't be here. But there's no relevance to them in your life. You don't even know their names. How is their plight or their wealth or their success or their failures affect you right now? You don't even know them. They're strangers to you. A lot of bad things happen to strangers to me. It doesn't affect my life. And boy, is that argument not well accepted, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? So the past doesn't exist. The past, I mean, it exists, but unless you can prove to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that the past affected you right now, yeah, your parents affected you, maybe your grandparents affected you, but your great-grandparents, can anybody, we got 78 people watching this right now. How many people on this chat right now could name all of your great-grandparents? Tell me their stories, their plots, like their characters, their trials, their tribulations. You know, you can't. You know what I mean? I bet you a lot of you can't even name your grandparents. The past, knock it off. I'm still amazed by how Kurt Busiek did Christian superheroes in Astro City and made them cool, despite Astro. Yeah, I guess you heard me talk about Heroic Tales is an homage to Astro City. That was the model for my comic. That is still one of my favorite comics. He got a little weird and progressive, and he killed that comic. If you read the last 12 issues, that you could see when the woke mind virus just invaded Kurt's brain. He hasn't written anything good since. But man, when Astro City was on, it was on. Science City is an homage to Astro City. Yeah, now we see kind of is other religions weaponizing the Charter of Rights so they could get away with their conquest. Yep. Yeah, we're doing the same in America. The Muslims are clever. Will there be a Solomon Kane-like character or tribute in the team? I would, if there was, I would discourage it, because I'm discouraging public domain characters, because the Burroughs estate and the whatever estate, sometimes they're litigious, like.
Oh, sometimes, not sometimes, always.
Right. So Solomon Kane is Howard. The Howard estate still, it's technically public domain, but Chuck Dixon just got sued, and we can't afford that. Although, I just found out today that Gary Leach and Randy Zimmerman are doing Cull, but they're getting around it by calling him the Atlantean. You know what I mean? So the Atlantean is in the book. The Atlantean. So I would discourage if somebody was going to do Solomon Kane. You know what I mean? Because, you know, let's face it. If anybody gets sued, it's going to be me, and I'm doing okay, but I don't want a freaking lawsuit because somebody else wanted to include Conan. You know, so I'm going to discourage that. You know, like Six Gun Gorilla, it's already been established. That's an open public, but nobody sued. If nobody sued Brian Cristal by now, nobody's going to sue him. You know. The Cathars, Cathars, there's an argument that the Cathars never existed, and it's a really good argument. I'm kind of fascinated with the Cathars, the good people. We don't watch Barefoot Jen, and the bombing showed us. You know, I read Barefoot Gun. I love Barefoot Gun. It was horrible. War is horrible. I am of this paradoxical opinion that if we're going to go to war, you go to war. You win that war. You make it brutal. None of this Vietnam half-ass stuff. You know, if I was president and I was just like, unfortunately, we have to go to war. Like, do not go to war unless you mean it. And if I get into a fist fight, I hate to say it, guys, but I'm fighting dirty. I'm doing whatever I can because you're trying to kill me. The Queens of Marksbury rules do not exist over at the Longbox house. You know what I mean? Like, you break into my house, that's the last thing you're ever going to do. If we go to war, your country's going to be glass. Because really, that's the most merciful thing. If you decide that war is the moral thing to do, I think the moral thing to do is to end it as quick and as decisively as possible for your people. You know what I mean? That's why Hiroshima was the correct thing to do for the Americans. Don't bomb Pearl Harbor next time.
That was the argument. Historian, he was one of I think he might have been one of the guys on the flights, basically saying that Hiroshima, he basically equated it to 6 to 8 months worth of firebombing. He said, all you did was take 6 to 8 months worth of firebombing of these other cities that he was flying over and made it happen all at once instead of in 6 months. So that might support your argument right there, John. It's like, you want to get it done, get it done. Get it done now.
I told you the story about when I was going to become a teacher of the class, I was the only guy in the class. But I don't want to repeat that now. But I will say we firebombed Tokyo, and conventional bombing we killed 180,000 people when we did conventional bombing in Tokyo. We dropped one bomb in Hiroshima and it killed 40,000 people. Nobody talks about. The average person doesn't even know we bombed Tokyo. So, was it morally better to kill 180,000 people over a course of weeks, or was it morally superior to kill 40,000 people in a matter of moments? You know, I just find people who argue about that just really don't know what they're talking about. Go read Chuck Dixon's book, Storming Paradise. It's an alternate story about we didn't bomb Japan and what would happen. And he did all the research on it. It would have been a million times worse if we didn't get Japan to surrender by the bombs. They do try to change words. When it comes to liberalism, then it meant liberty was a good, but that's one thing liberty became the old. Yeah. That's one of the weapons of progressivism is to change the words. Dracula's snoodfest, Frankenstein, absolutely. Atheism is an identity, and any identity can become a group identity, which is really no different than any other group, tribe, or team. The only thing that distinguishes, all right, I can't argue with that. Howard Solomon Kane was right. I still haven't read any Solomon Kane except for that 6-issue Marvel comic. I always considered myself a liberal. Then all my friends on the left lost their minds and accused me of being a Yahtzee. Meanwhile, I did. Yep, we were just talking about that before you showed up.
John, quick aside. Read,
Sure.
I think it's The Creeping Hand, Solomon Kane story. It's very, very short.
Okay. The Creeping Hand. Funny thing is, from what I've heard, there's actually a lot of atheists and agnostic people who really don't like abortion, primarily because it's largely. I'll tell you, even when I was in my hardcore atheist phase, I didn't like abortion. And I used to, and like atheists, I used to self-righteously say that I was superior because of my belief, because it wasn't based on religious dogma. But I say to people, if you know, this was my atheist argument against abortion, is you get one chance. There's no afterlife. There's nothing. This is your one chance to live. You know, there's in the history of the universe, the billions of years that existed and will exist, this is your one chance, and you just took it away. That DNA will never combine, that consciousness will never be replicated, and because you bonked the wrong person in a bar or not ready to settle down yet, you stripped away that one chance of that unique human being. So I've always been against abortion, you know, and I hate to say it, even if you get raped, you know, it's not the child's fault. I know that's controversial to say that. This woman that I worked with got really upset that I said that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to change my opinion to make you feel better. I said, but it's not the child's fault. I said, what we need to do is punish these rapists so bad that it just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It just I said, but then there's no father to raise the kid. I said, that's why we have families. That's why, you know, we need to make strong family units. That's why we got to have the church. That's why we got to have all these support groups. And we got to, you know, mercy on the unjust is tyranny to the just, you know. But I'm always pissing people off at work. Blacks, women, anybody, everybody. Liberals. My thinking is that religion has a theology, inherent rules of morality. Pure atheism is only a theology. One has to add ideology. I always said that atheism was just like, it's just, I don't have it. You're defining me by your beliefs. You know what I mean? Like, even when I was an atheist, I was just like, the word atheist, I was always uncomfortable with it. Like, you're defining me by your belief system. Like, is there a word for somebody who doesn't believe in Zeus? Is there a word for somebody who doesn't believe in Mickey Mouse? You know what I mean? So I'm just a guy just going about my business. You know, that's how I describe. So I always thought the word atheist brought baggage that was unfair to the atheist. That's like the kindest thing I'll say about atheism today. I think the logic, you benefit from terrible things that your ancestors did, so you must pay for it. Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because one of the black guys at work was like, "Oh, my grandfather was a slave." I was like, "Yeah, what year was he born?" And uncomfortable because I'm just supposed to accept this word. You know, you don't challenge anybody. Oh yeah, what year was he born? I said, because slavery was abolished in what, 1865? So let's just say he was born in 1864. That makes him 133 years old. I didn't see your grandfather on the Tonight Show. You know, when the Tonight Show used to have people that made it to 100. Since I don't think you're telling the truth here. You know, so. But he thought it was true because somebody said it. Just like I'm sure Elizabeth Warren thought she was Indian. I'm sure somebody in her family said, "Oh, we're Native American. We're Native American," and she just thought it was cool and never questioned it. And then she confidently took the DNA test and then found out it wasn't true because somebody just made it up. You know, a lot of people make us think about slavery. I find them dream about having sex slaves are usually. I never had a problem with atheists. No one will find people the same as Richard turned it to. Yeah. I just find the zealotry. It's like, okay, you're leaving religion and then you're taking the worst parts of religion with you. That was my big problem with atheists. Yep, nobody will. There's a great story. RJ, you probably know this because you're a history person of Xerxes. Was it? Now I'm going to embarrass myself. Who was it? Darius that invaded? No, it was Xerxes that invaded Greece, right? Yeah, it was
Darius.
Xerxes.
Was
Darius
Darius
Alexander the Great.
well, during the marathon that was Darius. He
It was
invaded.
Darius during marathon. Okay,
Yeah.
so it was Darius.
But that's it
The
was
one that
Xerxes.
invaded Greece. If it was Xerxes or Darius,
Both of them did, but at different times.
But
So-
he came with the 1,000,000-man army, and as they were crossing the Pontus, he was. It takes a long time to take 1,000,000 people on feet and cross bridges from Europe, from Asia to Europe, and he was watching, and supposedly he started crying, and so what's the matter? And he says, in 100 years, every one of these people will be dead. You know what I mean? Like this is like he basically was like, is it even worth like conquering Greece? We're all going to be dead, you know. So yeah. It's humbling to think about, and I do. But my wife and I, we don't have kids. You know what I mean? Like 50 years from now, is anybody going to remember us? We're not going to be around in 50 years. You know what I mean? Will we just be the weirdos who lived in this neighborhood? You know, the cats will eat my corpse in this chair until somebody bangs on my door. You know what I mean? Wow, there's a lot of mail in that guy's mailbox. My boy Pat Merck and I are working on a Solomon Kane called the Puritan. That's a great name. That's a great name. But he's the exact opposite of Kane. That's a good name. I'd read that. So could someone use a public domain characters for original stories? Then, but did not mention that. So then make up a new character. He's using the Puritan instead of Solomon Kane. You know, just make up a new character. That way, it's yours. And nobody can tell you what to do with it. You know, RJ's using Crom the Destroyer. He's not using Conan. You know, make up your own character. We're supposed to be creative people. Like, is the Black Terror that great of a character that they have to keep bringing him back every 5 years? You know, nobody has been successful with the Black Terror. Let them go. Make up your own character. Even when Alan Moore brought back all of the public domain characters, they didn't go anywhere with them. Make up your all of Alan Moore's original characters went somewhere. There's I don't want to say that there's bad characters, but I don't know. Am I a weirdo? It's easy to come up. Just today I came up with a whole new team of characters. Yeah, the love of money and power is the root of all evil. As long as a group can get over themselves, we can temper up. Absolutely. I remember a few of my great-grandparents. Grandma Irene made a lot of nativity figurines for my family. I should learn more. I met my great-grandmother once. I never met either of my great-grandparents. I never met my mother's father. He died before I was born. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they were good people. I don't know if they were bad people. I don't know if they were murderers. I don't know if they were saints. I don't know anything about them. You know, I know they had problems in Italy, so they fled fascist Italy. In war, it's off of them and you. I'm a peacenik, but I'm not a pacifist. Pacifism is selfishness. If someone swings at me and breaks my house, I'm going to assume they're trying. Yeah, absolutely. I blame. There's a great argument that Darth Vader gives in one of the novels. I didn't read the novel, but somebody sent me the passage of Darth Vader talking about how pacifists are selfish. Darth Vader, of all people. I blame the JP government at this time and ruined their own people. Who's JP? Is that Canadian? I don't know who JP stands for. But I don't like any government. Dresden killed more people than any other bombing in history. Yep. Nobody talks about that. The Dresden bombing. The bombing of Pearl Harbor wasn't. I know, but it's like saying Civil War was about slavery. You know, yeah. Dresden got a real bit. Yeah, 25,000 civilian casualties. Yeah, Sandwich. I tried to write a short story about the real reasons behind the Dresden bombing, but I just didn't know enough real history. Sandwich. We tried to go to war against the governments of any countries, but half the time people are, yeah, I know. I read Solomon Kane. Yeah, I got to. I got to read more. I got to read more Howard, more Conan. Solomon Kane's the boss, the only character almost as cool as Captain Kronos. Wow, a lot of comments. I'm sorry I'm so far behind. Highly recommend a book by Chris Hitchcock. I don't believe in atheists about the New York. Okay. History is written by the victor. History is filled with liars. I tell you, man. One good thing about AI is that you can take old speeches and get them translated, and you can actually hear the exact words not translated by somebody with an agenda. You know, so that's interesting. I'll leave it to your imagination what I'm talking about. Odysseus from the Troy movie. Men are hunted by the vastness of eternity. So we ask ourselves, will strangers hear our names long after we're gone? It's ego, you know. I am Ozymandias. Look upon my works, ye mighty, in despair. You know what I mean? Like, it's everybody wants to be remembered. It's not a bad thing, but what do you want to be remembered for? You know. Me and my wife get sad. We don't have any kids. Like, does anybody remember us? Maybe Crisis on Independent Earth will be the thing that people remember me for. So back it. It's my one shot at immortality. History is often written by those who are most invested in telling a narrative. That's what I believe. And sometimes the spiteful losers are the The Black Terror, the Golden Age Marvel Comics vigilante named Laszlo Pavelli. I thought that was Tony Grigo. The more I learn about religion, psychology, the more I realize people are crazy. That helps to navigate the treacherous waters of unconscious impulses manifesting as ideology. I feel like I'm talking to Rorschach. Well, comics are my religion. Contrary to popular belief, rebels aren't always the good guys. I always say to people, look at the Civil War. Look at everything we're taught about the Civil War. The South was bad. The North was good. But at the same time, all the slave ships sailed out of Boston Harbor, and the North had children working in factories. So child labor is better than slave labor. You know what I mean? North and South was about a lot more factors than just slavery. And the average person in the South didn't have a slave. 99%, not even, I know people say 99%, but literally 99% of people in the South didn't have slaves. So why would 99% of the people fighting about slavery when they weren't slave owners? Because it wasn't about slaves, but it's just one of those things we talk about. Interesting how the tops right to, yeah, it always is like this. It's always, Christ is going to be lit, y'all. Yo, even what's up with my type? I know, I don't know about you, but typing, I've been typing and texting a lot of people because since the crisis, people have been asking me about it. I've been repeating myself, and it's all good. But man, I don't want to type anymore. So just email me and I'll give you my phone number. We'll talk. I can talk till the cows come home. But I am so freaking tired of text messaging and emailing people.
I think Brian had the last word there. We're going to have to call it for the evening. Sorry to anybody else is going to bring up
it's
some
almost
comments.
3 hours, and I got my bowl of chili in front of me, getting cold. Plus, in the South, there were black slave owners and black Confederate regime who fought to keep the system. Absolutely. We need some online powers. Yep. Perth Comics. Hail Indie Beyonder. How you doing, Perth Comics? I like that. Well, people had more kids. The kids could work. Do you want to immigrant? Take your job, an American kid. Hail everybody. Thanks for the stream. Anything you want to say? Oh,
I think we covered a lot of ground tonight, so we'll just leave it at that. Just make sure that everybody knows that links are in the description, both for John's stream and mine, that for both our books, you can get on Fund My Comic or Kickstarter, right, John?
Right. Since we got a whole bunch of people here, if I may, shill, go to Fund My Comic. You can get the Heroic Tales Christmas special. It's complete. It's on newsprint. Oh my God, it is so good looking. I cannot believe the ink looks better. It's the first time the physical copy looks better than the computer. You know, when I get the graphics on my computer, it always looks good. But it's not on the same exact newsprint that we had back in the 80s, but it is the closest possible. Zaid Comics got some newsprint. It is beautiful. Please, I it didn't exactly set the world on fire. I paid for the printing. It's on its way. It's happening. I'm gonna launch again after Halloween, but the Christmas special it's beautiful. Also, while you're at Fund My Comic, check out Crom the Destroyer. If I may speak for RJ for a second, he had some issues that it's not my business to reiterate, but he had every problem in the world to get this comic, and he is struggling. And he's 8 pages from being finished, and it's beautiful artwork. 73 pages.
Yeah.
He said, every time I talk to you, you add more and more pages. RJ, you crazy. It's a glorious comic. I can't wait. And then I also know RJ's got a bunch of other stuff on tap that he's waiting.
Oh yeah, we got 4 other stories, 4 other books ready to go in the chamber as soon as we get Crom the Destroyer.
Yeah, I I know we bust people's chops for being late, but RJ, I unbelievable hardships he went through to get this comic out, and it's gonna be glorious. And this Crisis on Independent Earth is a ground zero, start all over again. The line in the sand, and everything will be good from now on. That's so. And if you don't like Fund My Comic, which is weird because it's just a place to buy stuff, you could go to Kickstarter, get Heroic Tales, and you could go to TeePublic and pick up a T-shirt, wear the logo, let people know. It's funny because I went into a print shop right by my house, and I rushed out one shirt because I got it done in one day. The guy who manages the tea place, he makes comic books, and he's going to participate in the Crisis on Independent. You see how this logo is it's the mind virus. So there's still comments, but I'll talk for another hour and a half if I go through all the comments. So Christmas special, Crom the Destroyer, both of them on Fund My Comic, and check out the Crisis on Independent Earths. If you want to participate, email me at johnslongbox@yahoo.com. And I got nothing else to say.
See y'all later.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, kids.
Oh, crap. I forgot to hit the button. I'm sitting here.